Let's start streaming. See if this works. We are starting. We're starting to do the streaming. Yeah. Oh, it looks like we are live. Ah, man, they totally changed the whole interface when I did this on Saturday, and the interface was super cool, and now it's back to normal. Boo. Alright, let's go down here, see what's going on. Austin's in the house. Spencer's in the house. What is up? Ah, the Junland wastes are not to be tread lightly. Alright. Let's see if I can get a preview going, see what you guys are seeing. Alpha Beta Xenon Z Cat in the house. What is up? Many apologies, I do have my AC going in the background, and it sounds like, I don't know, like Zeus has a giant Norelco nose trimmer and he's just buzzing away like crazy, but it's July, and I am in a small room, and I am but a man that is sweaty. Austin's here, got some more Blu-rays. Is that a question or is it a statement? What did you get? Tell me, Austin. Ryan's in the house. Hello. Let me turn this down. Where's it? Oh, 8-Track Master. Oh, 8-Track Master wanted to see my a Wally Blu-ray last week, if I remember correctly. So I brought that with me because I didn't get a chance to go grab it last week in time. Let's find out what Austin got. I'm probably going to grab some more Criterions from the Barnes & Noble sale. There's also that freaking Scream Factory sale, which is rather nice. There's a couple Carpenter flicks that I haven't gotten around to picking up yet. Why am I doing a stream on a Thursday instead of Friday? Because, yeah, I never know. Like, it's tough to, like, get my schedule, like, completely battened down. Thursday is usually better for me. But, yeah, I'd like to keep it going on a regular Thursday situation, but we'll see. We shall see. Sometimes things get in the way. And then I kept getting complaints from like my buddies in like Sweden, etc., that they wanted to see stuff on the weekend. So, yeah, so I'm trying to get back to the norm, doing it on Thursdays, but we shall see. And yeah, Fridays are generally bad, but sometimes like it works out, and I'm like, yeah, what the hell. So I try and keep you on your toes. But the one last week like didn't count. The Saturday night was just like a fun, random one. I didn't see the Top Gun trailer. I watched the It trailer, which looked rather good, and there was another one. Yeah, they're dropping left and right. But I was about to watch the Maverick trailer, but I had to come up here and set this up and all that. So I will check that out a little bit later. But I've been hearing some good feedback on it. Everyone seems to be digging it. It Chapter 2 looked pretty tasty, so yeah, I wasn't like 1,000% on board with It Chapter 1, but I don't know. I think it overall succeeded more than anything, so I'll give the sequel a chance, and the cast is pretty badass too. Spencer knows the struggle. It is hard to find a good live stream day of the week, you know. Good times. Yeah, and I still have yet to hear Criterion 1000. That's the big, the 1000th spine number title. Everyone was expecting that, what, Monday, I think, and then nothing. And yes, we are going to talk about 12 Monkeys. I've been really, I mean, I saw the film in the theater multiple times, and I've perpetually watched it over the years, but I really wanted to go back and I ended up watching the laserdisc box set and rocking the Arrow Blu-ray, and I just went all in on 12 Monkeys, so I'm psyched to be talking about that. And so yeah, so we'll do like a little film discussion, and then I'll show you all the different like media incarnations I have of it. Surprisingly, Lost Boys has a lot of features on it for Warner Blu-ray. Is it stuff ported over from the DVD 2-disc special edition? Because that was a pretty good special edition. I was actually impressed. Oh, gotta show some naughty words there. Already some thoughts coming in on 12 Monkeys. Ari Franklin in the house. What is up? Welcome aboard. Yeah, sorry you missed the stealth stream too, Spencer. It was a pretty good one, especially because I was, talking about 007 soundtrack. So we're actually talking about a little bit of 007 soundtrack stuff tonight too. So just randomly connected with 12 Monkeys, but you probably know what I'm gonna say already. But yeah, so the stealth stream was apparently too stealthy, and but yeah, I literally didn't even post that it was happening until about an hour before it happened. I didn't think I was going to be able to do it at all last weekend, and it just kind of things shook together. So, and then yeah, there we go. Special features ported from the DVD. Yeah, okay. I like the DVD though. I still haven't picked up Lost Boys on Blu-ray. I don't know if I kept thinking like someday somebody else would do a special edition of it or something, but I should just grab the Blu-ray because I need Lost Boys on every possible format I can find. And I'm sure it looks better than my DVD copy, which isn't bad though. I mean, it was 60 and that in widescreen for the first time because every time I tried to find it on Laserdisc, it was always the stupid pan and scan version. So I'm still looking for a Laserdisc EC3 reissue. And then the first letterbox one wasn't the right aspect ratio either. So Lost Boys, freaking love that movie. But anyways, so yeah, we'll talk some 12 Monkeys. I didn't pick up anything this week yet. Just haven't gotten a chance because I think I showed everything I got on Saturday, and all that stuff. And I haven't gotten any new LDs in the mail, though I will have some soon. If you missed it Saturday and you didn't watch the video, I got the Army of Darkness Taiwanese bootleg on Laserdisc, which I had been hunting for quite some time. And my boy Ryan hooked me up after he spotted it in Half Price Books of all places. So somebody must have imported this and had to sell their collection for drug money or something. Dropped it off at the HPB, but I'm glad I finally got a copy of that, and it definitely exceeded expectations. I at least met or exceeded expectations. It's pretty good quality for a bootleg, and it's a nice way to watch the director's cut. So definitely better than my old VHS crapperoo bootlegs I had. Oh yeah. Speaking of the devil, there's the Ryan right now. The 12 Monkeys TV version. Has anybody actually watched that? Because I have not. The bootleg is essentially it's the VHS copy that used to make the rounds at conventions in the early mid-90s after it's the director's cut. So it's the same one, that was on the Scream Factory 3-disc special edition, but at the time it was really tough to get that sucker, and you could get it traded, but VHS duping was creating like replicative fade after a while, and you were getting dub after dub after dub, and it was looking ass-tastic. It's like the international cut, but then it had the original ending on as a programmable extra. So that was like the closest you can kind of get to it, unless you got the bootleg. But there was also some European bootlegs, at least one from Germany, and maybe another one. I swear there was talk of like a Danish bootleg or something in Video Watchdog magazine. But yeah, this Taiwanese one is nice because it's NTSC, and it looks good. Like it's a really decent source for the director's cut. My favorite originally was the Region 3 MGM DVD, because Laserdisc home theater in the house. What's up, sir? Sony Muse. It's going out for you. But yeah, when Anchor Bay was starting to drop the director's cut for one of the 8 million times they reissued it, the quality of it was probably as good, if not worse, than this Laserdisc. And then everyone said, well, there's no good prints out there or whatever. And then the Region 3 DVD came out, which looked pretty damn tasty. And I imported it, and that was my go-to version for the longest time. And then, now it's just, I just watched the Scream one. But yeah, so let's see what's going on. Oh, Austin's watching some Return of the Living Dead. That does look tasty. That looks very nice. I actually meant to watch that for some proper July day of viewing, but Was that July 3rd? Is that the day it all begins? Freaking love Return of the Living Dead. Yeah, it looks great. Thumbs up. I see what he did there, Laserdisc Home Theater. Oh, Ryan is investigating Laserdisc Home Theater. Oh, it's getting intense in here. See if we can get Moiki in the house, maybe. Oh, yeah. If you guys are fans of... I can't even say. But anyways, if you're in Laserdisc Home... Laserdisc Forever. Sorry, not Laserdisc Home Theater. If you're in Laserdisc Forever, it might behoove you to, like, hang out tomorrow night, evening-ish, at some point. That's all I can say. I mean, it might not behoove you, but it might behoove you. So, 8-Track Master's playing some Black Ops. Vintage. Not Black Ops 4. Vintage COD. I never did pick up a copy of that for myself. I suck. Oh yeah, pretty much once I started this channel, that was like the end of my gaming existence. That was it. Like I used to find some time to sit down every once in a while and play something, but then yeah, once I started expanding my my spare time activities, that was the end of it. That was the final nail in the coffin. Wham, wham. Every once in a while, like fire something up and like go back and play Mirror's Edge or something for a while, but it's pretty rare. It's pretty sad. I mean, I still rock Mappy at work all the time. I've got a Sony Trinitron at work and a little like vintage gaming like handheld unit with Galaga and Xevious and Ms. Pac-Man. I always throw Mappy on there, play that at the end of the workday, but that's about it. It's pretty sad. It's a sad existence. I always feel bad for Paul from what's his name of his modding company. Now I feel like a douche because I forgot his modding company. Anyways, but yeah, he's a really good guy, and he's kind of in a similar situation where he doesn't really get to play anything anymore. But anyways, enough of that nonsense. Let's see, Austin Anchor Bay used VHS footage for the unrated scenes of the DVDs. Oh, Night of the Demons. Yeah. Nice. Excellent. I need to get some Night of the Demons. I'm sorely lacking that. Yeah, man, that Mirror's Edge soundtrack. I got hooked on that when the original, I don't know, it was like maybe like 1 level or 2 level demo came out, and I was like, I'll download that. I was like totally hooked. It was just the tutorial and just a little bit of running around, but I was like, yes, more of this, please. And yeah, I played the crap out of that game. 8-Track Master's not digging the Frozen. Talk about UHD. Yes, I've heard Laserdisc Home Theater has given away all of his Laserdiscs, and is turning into a 4K snob. We shall see. The old MGM Return of the Living Dead DVD. I should retire that too, but I have it. And then, of course, I've got the MGM Blu-ray. And, man, 8-Track Master's not digging the Elsa or the Anna. But yeah, I don't know. I can't quite put it in the donate banner or sell it, but oh well. Yes, I will definitely get the Steelbook of Night of the Demons. I love that they're coming out with like all these kind of Steelbook reissues when they're fixing things. They're in, you know, sometimes it's not really that you know, broadcasted, like the, you know, having that bonus 4K on the Thing Steelbook. I was like, I don't need to get the the Thing Steelbook, and now I'm like, now I need to get the Thing Steelbook. Damn it. I do not have any High-Vision Laserdisc, but Laserdisc Home Theater is going to hook me up with his Sony Muse player and all his High-Vision discs when he gets out of LD and goes full 4K. Or he probably sold them all already. I'm thinking our buddy Bill's probably got them all. The rumors of my death have been greatly exaggerated. Alright, good. Everyone desires Muse. Yep. I know. It'd be fun to at least get that one, like that one disc. Yeah, just to show it. Occasionally. But we'll see. Maybe in my future, when I'm 60 or something, I'm going to get a Muse player. Well. Anyways, so yes, What else is new? What did I watch this week? Ass Tons of 12 Monkeys. Did I watch anything outside of that? I did finally finish watching that Spielberg documentary on HBO. I watched most of it, but then I pooped out. Ooh, Ryan's got Dose Sony Muse. Is that your count, or is that Laserdisc Home Theater's count? Damn, respect. Yeah, exactly. When you retire a DVD, you don't sell it, you just let it collect dust on a shelf. I have like the shelf of, it's like, yeah, where Wheezy and Toy Story goes. Yeah, it's like the shelf of retired DVDs of horror movies that I love. You know, and just, you know, anything cool. So there's always like a bunch of Evil Deads and Reservoir Dogs and Return of the Living Deads and Manhunters and stuff, all coughing up dust in there. Oh, Laserdisc Home Theater getting the Radiance Pro. Nice. Should probably just sell a car or something. Probably be easier. Just like, I don't know, take an Uber. Oh, Sony Muse mentions. Ah, that was 4. At least. You know, I don't know if Blake 7 ever hit LD. This probably like a collection. If anywhere, it would probably have been a Japanese release, because they always released all the cooler stuff, like Thunderbirds box sets and stuff like that. But I haven't actually seen any Blake 7 LD stuff in person. That's a damn good question, though. I will look that up on the LDDB later. Yeah. So yes. Yeah, you Spencer passes on DVDs and regrets it for some reason afterwards. Yep. Exactly. The struggle is real. I need more shelving. And I've been installing on Netflix to get all excited for Area 51 shenanigans. And that was pretty cool. That was interesting. And I swear there was another documentary I fired through, but... Yeah, I've got a bunch of DVDs I probably should have held on to, but you know, especially when I dumped a bunch to FYE, because it's like a lot of those times they were like giving you a penny for a disc. It's like, what the hell? A penny? That's all you got? Oh, Ryan confirms Blake 7 exists on LD. Or maybe it just exists generally. But it probably doesn't exist on Sony Muse. Yep, Japanese release. Figured as much. Oh yeah, so here's that Wall-E Blu-ray that I got a request for last week. Sadly, I didn't pick up Wall-E when it originally came out, but this was well after that, and they did the... this is like the version of the Disney Blu-rays that's akin to the Star Wars Faces Laserdisc. So here's the Faces Wall-E. At least it had the slipcover, though. So it's the only thing, if you're part of like the Disney Movie Club or something, the chances of you getting a slipcover when you want one, or getting the version that you want when you want one, even though they got a picture of something, and you just get like whatever random stuff that they have kicking around. So, but I didn't get this from, I don't think I got this from the DMC, but nice double disc though. But oh, we're at 5. You know, I do enjoy the Manhunter director's cut, but I can roll with both. It's not one of those cases where I've like latched onto the director's cut or the special edition like I have with Aliens. I can bounce back and forth between the director's cut. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's really better per se. It's a little bit more, you know, involving with some scenes, or especially some of the stuff with the cops is a lot longer when they go to brief everybody about, you know, what's going on. But oh, good, 8-Track Master saw that video. Yeah, it's a nice Wall-E release for sure. Sony Muse now for sale. Tell them to stop PMing. Yeah, I get the Sony Muse. You guys don't get the Sony Muse. But yeah, so I can roll either way, Manhunter. And yeah, that's another one where it came out in a nice double pack Anchor Bay release, but the director's cut was relatively low resolution, kind of VHS-y. Oh, Ryan's heading out. Peace out, sir. And so yeah, it was like kind of okay looking, and they're like, well, that's the best quality we have. And then after that came the Divimax version. They redid it, and yeah, it was a lot nicer looking. So I'm not gotten a chance to sit down and properly watch the Manhunter. We're at 6. I haven't had a chance to properly sit down and watch the Manhunter Scream Factory version, which I do have as well. But I need to do that at some point. And I have the LD that I got from my boy Moikey. Which is the 120-minute version. Nice stuff. I always thought this was not widescreen because, yeah, I don't know. Warner Brothers, like around this period, I always thought they'd, this I just assumed was going to be pan and scan. And, yeah, so I'd like realize, oh, snap, that is widescreen. And so I picked it up from Wiki. And looks great. Looks nice. So I've got, again, many copies of Manhunter now. Alright. Indie Phantoms digging the Maverick trailer. Tasty. Alright. I'm gonna have to take a look at that later on. Good night, Ryan. Have fun. Anyways. So yeah, 12 Monkeys. Anybody watch some 12 Monkeys? I think a couple of you did. I saw it earlier. It's part of that blistering period of like 3-4 months from late 95 to early 96 when like Seven was dropping and Strange Days and freaking Heat. It's like, come on, too good. Oh, Ari Franklin's got HD DVD 12 Monkeys. So it's probably similar to the Blu-ray that Universal dropped around... What year was that? Yeah... 2009. So yeah, it's probably like the same transfer that they ported over onto Blu-ray after the fact. But, yeah, Thief I've got on LD too. That's down buried a little bit too. And I got the Criterion Thief too. I have not taken the Criterion for a spin though. Oh yeah, Manhunter the wheelie chair is classic. Oh man. But yeah, like 95 had kicked my ass pretty heartily. Like they weren't even just like good movies that I liked a lot. Those are like all pretty much like seminal movies that shaped me as a film fan and like crater size impacts on me. I mean, Seven was an atomic bomb, and Strange Days, again, just like really tapped into my psyche, and I latched onto it. Heat freaking blew what left of my mind I had by the time December rolled around, and I was like, I'm done, man. I need to relax for a year, and then it didn't come out until the first week of January here, but 12 Monkeys dropped, and I had already been a fan of Terry Gilliam. I saw Time Bandits in the theater. I saw Munchausen on cable, and Brazil, sadly, I had heard all the hubbub about, but didn't get to see it until it hit cable as well. And Fisher King I saw on VHS, and was really impressed with that. And the success of that kind of paved the way for him becoming a director for hire, essentially, on 12 Monkeys. But David Peoples doing the screenplay is really fascinating because he's all, Unforgiven, and like those two films are like some of my all-times. So the fact that like David Peoples was doing the screenplay had me intrigued, and Bruce Willis was crushing it at the time, especially with his work with Quentin Tarantino. And I had just seen him in probably, 4 Rooms, like a couple weeks before that. But, Indie Phantom's going to be checking out Stranger Things. Digging it. Really dug Season 3. Oh, Alpha Beta. Watched it on VHS. Excellent. Respect. Yeah, oh yeah, Casino in 95 too. Yeah, I mean... oh yeah, Leaving Las Vegas and Showgirls. And yeah, 12 Monkeys, it's funny because everyone loves critically Brazil. And 12 Monkeys, because it was a bit of a success, I don't know, it's almost written off as, I don't know, as like not an important enough film to become like, a Terry Gilliam masterpiece, and since he was a director for hire. But I don't know, that combination, yeah, David Webb Peoples and Terry Gilliam was like a nice little melting pot. And if it's not my favorite Terry Gilliam flick, it's like right up there with Brazil. Like they're hovering around each other for sure. So, oh yeah, Nixon. I don't have that Nixon LD box. I got to get that. But yeah, so I knew I'd seen the trailer for it, and it's weird. Out of that bunch, 12 Monkeys is like almost the hardest one to watch now, just because Fruit just seems to be working fine. I was just watching my 12 Monkeys box set on it the other night. I'm still tweaking it left and right, but I think I'm okay with it. I think it's pretty good. We'll keep it around for a while for show. But yeah, I don't know. For some reason, like I tapped too much into my young 20s, self when I think back on 12 Monkeys. Or I don't know. I just remember, like, I was vacationing in Boston because I hadn't lived there at the time yet. The weekend it came out, and I actually didn't get a chance to check it out because of the business of the weekend. But I don't know. I was like really intense at the time, and early 20s, trying to figure out your stuff, and it was all emo and wrapped up in yourself. And so 12 Monkeys, like, I don't know, like I really kind of flash back to that period hardcore. But that said, it's undeniable, like the impact it had on me, and it's still one of my favorites. But so before we just spoil the hell out of it, if anybody hasn't seen it, it's a science fiction time travel film, or is it? And Bruce Willis plays a guy named James Cole, who has possibly mental divergence and is imagining a future world in which he's a prisoner sent on all sorts of missions through time, or he's a nut job working his way around institutions and running around the streets of Philadelphia and causing trouble, and then also dragging in a therapist that he met when he was inside the mental institution for a little while. Dr. Rayleigh, played by the one, the only Madeline Stowe, who I kind of had a thing for at the time. Don't tell anybody. Don't tell Brian Benman. So it's that thing where it's a love story, but it's also strangely not a very it's not a very sexy or fired up love story. It's almost like a kind of maternal situation, because Cole is essentially locked into a permanent stasis of childhood. He is pretty much a man baby because of this memory he has of this extremely violent set of events that he witnessed as a child, which seemed to be the moment when his psyche just cemented and froze, and he's still that kid. He's kind of lovable and friendly and helpful, and then but just prone to sudden outbursts of violence, which has led him into the situation in which he meets Madeline Stowe's character. And Beta is also feeling it. Melinda's in the house. And yes, then along his way, he meets Jeffrey Goins, who is the son of Christopher Plummer's character, who is a virologist. And Jeffrey is, at the time, you don't know it, he just seems to be another crazy person that is institutionalized that Cole ends up running into. And Brad Pitt kind of bringing a little bit of Tyler Durden back from 1999 into the past, kind of channeling some similar Tyler Durden-esque moments in his outbursts and everything like that. But he played it very, very manic, and it was a big kind of revelation at the time. Seven had dropped, and that was a big thing for Brad Pitt. And then, of course, he went off and did Legends of the Fall and did all these gorgeous long hair Interview with the Vampire type films. But then this thing, it's like he's wall-eyed and just throwing fingers around like crazy, and he's got this off buzz cut and everything like that. And so it was a strange film to be throwing the hottest guy in the world in, but of course it's Terry Gilliam, so I was expecting the strangeness of this film. But yeah, so it's that story of Cole as he's navigating through this mission that he sent. So yeah, if you believe that he really is a time traveler, he is from the future. In the, what is it, 2025, I believe it was? It's either 2025 or 2035. And he's in a prison because even in a post-apocalyptic wasteland in which animals are the only creatures that are ruling the above ground world, and any surviving humans who had to maintain their existence had to go below ground after a virus outbreak occurred in the mid 90s. So the in 1996 in particular. So these scientists that are, and a lot of people at the time were guessing that they weren't scientists, or they were just kind of doing all this shenanigans for their own good. But I think on the surface they actually are a group of scientists, and they're legit. So there's like different fields. There's a microbiologist, and there's a geologist, and that's the Mohicans reference. Nice. Devil's Own. I haven't seen that in a hot minute. Oh yeah, Blink and Unlawful Entry. Got them both on Laserdisc. And Blink was the performance that Terry Gilliam saw that had him thinking about her for the role of Dr. Rayleigh in 12 Monkeys. And 12 Monkeys was again an adaptation of Chris Marker's La Jetée, which there's this whole kind of obsession between Vertigo, La Jetée, and 12 Monkeys, because I had seen Vertigo. There's a scene in 12 Monkeys in which Cole and Rayleigh go to hide out in a movie theater while they're kind of changing their look. And there's a clip in the film, there's a film within the film of Muir Woods and Jimmy Stewart and Kim Novak and Muir Woods, and looking at the downed tree trunk, and looking at the rings, and I was reacting to it the same way Cole was, because he was having this flashback that he had seen this movie and it was messing with him because he couldn't remember where he saw it or what it was. And I was having that exact same feeling, because I'm like, I know this movie, what is this? And I probably should have guessed it was Hitchcock, but it just wasn't connecting. And then it connected hard, and I immediately sought out Vertigo, and then realized that my life was never going to be the same again. And then that was also the time when the world fell in love with Vertigo again, and within the following year the remaster restoration had happened, so I was able to see it in 70mm in a cinema house near me. So there's a German Blu-ray of Unlawful Entry. Wow, nice. So it started off this obsession of mine, and so I even traveled San Francisco to visit a friend in '97 to check out all the locations of Vertigo. And while I was at City Lights bookstore, which is the big famous bookstore, Ginsberg and everybody would hang out at, they had a killer cinema book section in the basement, and I picked up Chris Marker's La Jetée and in photo novel form. And if you haven't seen the film, it's under a half an hour, and it's actually all still imagery except for one slightly moving image, and it's all narration. So it plays fantastically as a photo roman. But so I had to pick this sucker up, and it's got all the narration written out as text in French and English. But so I fell in love with La Jetée, and then La Jetée references Vertigo within it, because there's a reference to that exact scene in Muir Woods with the timeline of the tree trunk. So yeah, bizarre. And yeah, there's also a Birds reference in it, which is very, very weird, because it's kind of abstract, because on the outside of the cinema where they're hanging out, there's a marquee saying there is a 24-hour Hitchcock Fest, but it lists every movie except The Birds. And then nice, yeah, the tourists go for the sights, but everyone else, Maltese Falcon, Vertigo, Bullet, View to a Kill, man. Respect. So Yeah, it's weird because Cole is watching a Vertigo and really steps out and comes back with her hair dyed, which again is a direct reference to Vertigo. But he wakes up because the Birds is playing, and he runs out into the hallway, and it's this gorgeous moment where he re-encounters her looking like the version that he remembers from this one violent image from his childhood. But then it's also, with the Bernard Herrmann music swells, a Vertigo, which would have happened quite some time ago because they were already well into the Birds. So the only explanation is that there's multiple screens in the cinema, and they're bouncing films back and forth. So there's multiple showings of Vertigo, and a door was open, and it was so loud it was penetrating the foyer of the movie theater. But it's kind of like a little weird moment there. Anyways, Gilliam in De Palma mode. I know, right? It was so weird seeing him kind of full on aping Hitchcock to that extent. It was great. So it fueled my Vertigo love. So I always got to give it credit for that alone. But 12 Monkeys is kind of fascinating because it's this Universal movie. It's like a kind of big deal, but it's also still very kind of low rent. Like he had a tight budget for the type of film he was going to make, and the original script even has a rather ultimately pointless but a huge car chase with helicopters chasing him after the scene where he encounters he goes to Brad Pitt to talk to Jeffrey Goins at his dad's estate. There's a scene like maybe 2/3 through the film. So after that was this huge chase scene, which really wasn't needed and stuff. So all that stuff had to get cut. So it became this interesting thing, whereas post, Time Bandits, post Brazil, there was this Terry Gilliam aesthetic that had been kind of created out of those films and the production design, and then everybody knew his vibe. So he claims that he was actually trying to do 12 Monkeys more as just a straight man for hire, workman like director, like an Edward Zwick or something. And then it became a weird Terry Gilliam thing against his will, because all of his production designers and everybody on his staff knew his vibe and could search out strange items and elements and drop them into the film. But again, he's a fascinating visualist. His use of wide-angle lenses is very, very un-Hollywood, and like he'll let everything go super fisheye, and start bending at the extremes of the frame. It's like something you see in like wacky David Lee Roth music videos, but not necessarily in serious science fiction films. I think Laserdisc Home Theater would enjoy 12 Monkeys more than Brazil. It is complicated, but it's still enjoyable. Like there's like a certain wavelength in which it's enjoyable. Is it just this interesting tale of this guy bouncing back and forth in time, or is he? Yeah. And yeah, it was a surprising hit. And if you haven't seen it, the documentary The Hamster Factor and Other Tales in the Making of 12 Monkeys is a cool, really cool documentary, showing everything from the inception of the film and all the way up to its release. And Terry Gilliam had himself wrapped up in knots over the original screenings of this that they did, test audiences in Washington, D.C. He thought they loved the film watching it with them, and then it just fell apart during the cards, when they would do their handwritten polls on the way out. And then there was like a focus group that they even show in the documentary talking with the MC, and they're just savaging it. And Gilliam brings up a good point, that even if someone did enjoy the film, there's this kind of one-upsmanship when they know that they have power at that point because they know they're there as a test audience, and it's not a real kind of pure environment. And then it came out, and it was boffo. It did fine, and it was like a rare occasion of like a quality film being released first thing in January, which probably is part of the reason it did so well. There wasn't really much going up against it, but and it's fabulous like work from Bruce Willis, because I mean he had done some interesting things, and he had given up his pay to work with Quentin on Pulp Fiction before, but he gave up his pay to work on this film, and it was, you know, a little bit of a passion project, and he really wanted to kind of break out of the John McClane role a little bit too, because again, this is mid '90s, around Die Hard 3 time. Oh, Laserdisc Home Theater has the LD. Yeah, check it out. Now you'll like it. Yeah, the Salisbury Hill scene is pretty freaky. There's a scene where he gets pulled back out of the past, back to the present, and the scientists that are watching him have realized that he enjoys music, and so they decide they're going to surround him with the art. So they have this painting. It's a super Gilliam moment. This painting hanging from the ceiling, but they're all popping up like in his POV, like in front of the painting, so it looks bizarre, like that's the actual landscape that's literally behind them. And then they're singing Blueberry Hill because that was a song that he was listening to in the car. And there's a whole question about these scientists as to what they know and what they don't know. There's a disembodied voice that occasionally talks to Cole, and he also may or may not be a homeless man from the 90s that he runs into on the streets. But that guy lets him know that there's a tracking device that they implant in people's teeth, and there's all these other volunteers that are getting sent back in time. You don't really have a feel for how many people are they're sending out there and kind of networking. But Cole immediately is introducing you to his cellmate, or from the cell next door, named Jose, and they're throwing some information back and forth about volunteering for duties. And there's a lot of talk about volunteers will get a pardon for their crimes, and it's kind of one of those like Running Man things. Nobody actually believes that somebody gets pardoned and gets to go and live a fruitful life. Everyone figures you go insane or you get killed or something to that effect. You must stay close to the screen than me because I miss everything. But yeah, don't get Spencer going. I'll mess with you. But yeah, the yes, indeed, where he was digging the glass out of his feet in Die Hard was like had Gilliam thinking that Willis would be the guy for this role. And yeah, Willis definitely. I mean, there's one scene in particular where he just has this vicious attack on these hoods in this old theater that they're hiding out in one scene, and he just like crunches one guy's head into a wall, and he just has this like outburst of just, you could just feel it. Hey, they specifically mentioned that the strength of the image that shocked him forever of being in this airport and seeing all this violence going down, that actually helps him transport through time. Whereas in this one, it's played more as if that memory is a private memory, and he is chosen for multiple jobs because of how observant he is, which is also tied in with that moment. There's, you know, it's almost like he's shocked into a perpetual state of watching. And there's even, you know, very cleverly, when the villain of the tale runs past him, he says, watch it, as in like, watch it, you're in my way. But he's really saying, watch it, like, witness this, you know. And that's it, he's this witness. So they send him above ground in this big super condomy suit in the world that's viral because a virus was released in 1996 and then mutated. But they need people to go up and get samples, and now there's nothing but animals up in there. So he runs into a bear and a lion and everything. It's really surreal. And he does such a good job that they decided to get him involved in this time travel scenario. And they don't have much information to go on except for a badly garbled audio recording that they pulled off of a answering machine, because they can somehow pull recordings off of answering machines from this one particular number in 1996, and it warns them that there's this group called the Army of the 12 Monkeys, hence the title. Lots of monkey metaphors and everything in here, and there's also a side story involving a a monkey that they're sending down into a well with a little sandwich to find a missing kid that fell down a well. But yeah, there's this whole animal cruelty subtext as well with Jeffrey Goins, who's kind of railing against his father, who's doing animal testing, and he's putting together this group to you'll find out what later. Well, if you saw it, you know what they're up to. But there's a lot of notions about humanity and humankind being monkeys, and James Cole, JC, a very time Christ character here, he's almost like a monkey himself. He's trained to do these things. He does them, but there's the element of free will is on the edge there, and whether or not he has any actual control over his life or time or anything like that is and then he might even just be completely insane. But the film is really good at letting you know what it's about as it goes on. I mean, once he lands in a mental institution, and they don't show you the time travel like mechanisms for quite some time. It's just they get this guy to volunteer, and then bam, he's already getting in trouble. In 1990, they were supposed to send him into 96, but they failed, and he's already getting into trouble, and he's clearly got mental problems. He's violent, and he's encountering all sorts of interesting people once he's put into this institution, including a gentleman who says that he knows that he is mentally divergent, that his mind will go to two different places, and he thinks he's from a place called Planet Ogo, but he knows he's not really from there, but when he's there it feels real, and he thinks that he's going to stop these barbarian hordes on Pluto and everything like that. And then even asks, like, Bruce Willis straight up, are you mentally divergent? And Bruce Willis is like spending so much of this movie in a drugged stupor with drool coming down his face, and it's Brad Pitt is the one that's being all manic and bouncing off the walls and literally jumping up and down on beds, and the way he interacts with the other inmates is not inmates but patients is amazing. But Frank Gorshin also is in the film as another doctor who is a peer of Rayleigh's, and she comes in and is concerned for Cole, but she also thinks she recognizes him, which is one of the interesting mysteries about the film. There's thought about her recognizing him from a photo from when he was literally sent back in time into World War I in France, that she later uses for a seminar she does to support a book that she's released. Hey, 4K is in the house, but you never quite know what's going on. And there's even a reference later then when she sees him in his like wigged out like fake mustache mode, that she says that this is how I remember you, and so that's not quite possible theoretically. And there's a big question as how many people are getting sent back in time. There's a lot of mentions of different years and times in here outside of the ones we actually see, and you start to think like, ooh, was that person actually sent from the scientist? And how deep does this go? So anyways, they end up meeting up, and of course there's this beautiful closed time loop vibe going on in this film where you really can't change anything. Like, everything happened and will happen, and it just keeps very, very tight like that. So Cole is actually talking about his mission to Jeffrey Goins, and then he starts to become worried that he is the person that causes the viral outbreak, because he gives the idea of creating a viral outbreak to get rid of the humans and give the world back to the animals. Like, he thinks that he's the person that actually brought that idea from the future back into the past and gave it to the people of the past to make it happen in the first place. So Brad Pitt's character kind of says, that's a great plan, that's cool, and he actually starts getting some camaraderie with Cole, and then decides to send him free when he finds a key. Lots of key references in here, lots of kind of quick imagery and advertisement. There's a kind of other subtext about advertisement in this, and again, we're all trained like monkeys to follow advertisements, and Madeline Stowe's character kind of is frustrated with Cole because he reacts to a radio advertisement as if they're talking to him directly. Yeah, screw the TV series. But yeah, she kind of poo-poos the impact of advertising. But there's all these mentions of the Florida Keys, which ties in heavily with the finale. More on that later. But yeah, there's a lot of key reference when Goines gives him the key to get out of this place, and that's actually not how he ends up escaping. You can definitely read the film as if he's a crazy person who is mentally divergent, and then he kind of escapes to these flights of fancy. I tend to read the film as that's a fun kind of icing on it, but that's not actually what's happening, because there are enough characters that are doing things when he's not there and referencing things that are impossible, like him disappearing out of a closed room with a vent that's like that big. The film seems to play its cards in that he actually is time traveling. And yeah, it's just like kind of low-ish budget, high concept, which is great. I love that stuff. It just kind of gets by in weirdness. They shot in these huge like factory buildings and like power plants, and we're able to get all these strange, bizarre, natural rooms from these buildings, and just strange elements of them. And there's this hole in a giant concrete wall that they end up using as this injection portal when they do send Cole back in time. And it's really interesting as it progresses, because he starts to fall in love with the past. And they mention this happening a lot because they expect every time he comes back, he's a time traveler, right? When he comes back, they always think that he goes and finds prostitutes and ladies and stuff, and just blows all his money on drugs and women. So it seems like a lot of people end up doing that. And the voice in his head, the raspy voice, I think his name was Lewis in the script, even says, did you get some pussy while you were there? So I think he's like he's the person for the job, because he's probably the only one that's actually going around and doing his job properly. And he's saying over and over again what his mission is, and it confused a lot of people about the finale of the film. But he literally tells you exactly what happens in the finale of the film throughout. So his goal is to go back, and the film is like a perfect time loop. It's not about stopping anything, or this viral outbreak happened. Like, it happened. Like, there's no getting around that. It's a situation where you can data mine time, basically. So they're using these time travelers to data mine the past and find out where the virus came from. Like, they know it was in Philadelphia, but they need to find a ground zero, essentially. So that's what they're using this character for, is to go back and find where the virus started, because it mutates, and the mutation is impossible to overcome now, and the goal is to move humanity back above ground. So the idea, and the scientists they're played kind of goofy, and there's even a reference in the dialogue, like, science ain't an exact science. Pete's in the house. What's up, sir? But yeah, there's they're sending these people back, and then if they can find where the virus came from pre-mutation, then they will send someone to obtain the virus in its purest form, and then be able to save the future. So that's his mission, and he's really like into the mission. Oh yeah, David Morse is super creepy in this film. Like, yeah, that guy scared the hell out of me. I mean, I guess he was okay in Contact, but between this and he was so kind of twisted in Long Kiss Goodnight. I was like, come on, man, David Morse, stay away from me. But yeah, so Cole ends up going back in time, and then that's the one where they accidentally shoot him into World War I, and he gets shot, and then they drop him in the proper time, so he finds Dr. Rayleigh again, who is now kind of, it's almost one of those situations where it's like ethically a little squishy, kind of like Dr. Loomis in Halloween. She's benefiting from the madness of some of her patients, and seems like she's been inspired by Cole's tales of the future, and his very realistic tales and descriptions, to write this book about the Cassandra complex, which is the mythological ability of, based on Cassandra, who could see the future, was gifted foresight by Apollo, and then when she, spurned him, he's like, well, suck it. Now you got foresight, but I'm going to put some juju on you, and nobody's going to believe you. So it's that curse that you know the future, but nobody would believe you. And in the case of her research, nobody will believe you because you're insane or mentally divergent. So, what's it? More and more parallels to the infamous game series, of which I adore the first one. Ah, okay. I'll have to check that out. Oh, 16 blocks. Damn, I never saw it 16 blocks. Yeah, classic Gilliam, right? So, he goes back, and then that's when he starts to fall in love more with the past, even though the past in this film is very, very grim. It's almost as grim as the future, though it's not quite, but it's the color palette of this film is a very gray palette. It's not shot through with tons of colors, and it's very cold looking, because this takes place towards the end of the year, eastern seaboard kind of area, or East Coast for the most part. And there's this desire to get away and go to the beach and see the Florida Keys running through it, this kind of theme. But it's not a really kind of comforting feel. So you get this feel for like how crappy the future is, that this kind of bleak, late year, East Coast kind of urban jungle is so delightful to Cole. And then everything starts tightening up, where he starts, he kidnaps Rayleigh and goes on this adventure with her. And along the way, he lays all these seeds that will eventually flower after he disappears yet again. But she starts to see, more sides of him. And there's this great kind of road trip. It's almost like a buddy comedy for a bit, because they start, kind of bickering. But Gilliam is like so interesting that he never minds any one vibe. He never just like goes for the sentimentality. He never goes for the romance like 100%. Like it's the score by Paul Buckmaster is very similar. It's kind of scattered and fragmented like Cole's mindset, and Gilliam just does a great job at bringing in this mixture of these incredibly sad moments, these incredibly romantic moments, these incredibly funny moments, and just exciting moments. And it kind of never lets you sit on an even keel. So they go and on this kind of journey, and her against her will, because she is held at gunpoint, even though she doesn't believe that he has a gun. And this is when like a lot of important material happens. He starts encountering music, and he tells the tale about remembering the boy falling in the well, but he knows that the boy was hoaxing. He was hiding in a barn the entire time. She takes the bullet out of his leg, and then later discovers when Christopher Maloney rolls up all of a sudden and tells her that it's fired before the 1920s. And it's all like kind of laying the seeds for the final act of the film. And this all involves them hunting down the 12 monkeys, and come to find out there are these 12 monkey stencils in Philadelphia when they get there. And yes, it is Argentinian tango that is like the main theme that was on the temp track. And Paul Buckmaster, who did the music, it was funny, it didn't do a ton of film scores, but was a Roman trained, like repertory trained cellist that ended up becoming an orchestral arranger for David Bowie and Elton John, etc. And he approached this film and wanted to know how in love with the temp track Gilliam was, because a lot of times you get that Kubrickian thing where or Sam Raimi had this happen to him too, especially that led to him kind of feuding with Danny Elfman on Spider-Man 2, whereas they become in love with their own temp track, and so that tango, Argentinian tango, was in the temp track. And so Buckmaster was tasked with the unideal task of creating it, but faking it and changing it a little bit so it's different. And he actually told Gilliam, let's just go ahead and license this thing, and I can do it with a huge orchestra and redo it and make it the main theme, and we'll just license it. So they did. And there's some other cool tunes in there. Oh, Earth Died Screaming by Tom Waits. I was like huge into Tom Waits at the time. Still am. But Bone Machine was like, that album came out. And again, another nice little Fight Club connection there, because there's a tasty little Tom Waits track from Bone Machine on the Fight Club soundtrack as well, called Going Out West, which is one of my all-time favorite ones. But Earth Died Screaming is this kind of dirgy number with Les Claypool on bass and really good stuff. But then, there's all these throwback things like Blueberry Hill in there, and I think Comanche's in there. Good stuff. I do have the soundtrack. Wha-bam! Picked that up from, what was it? MCA Soundtracks. Link Ray with Comanche. What a Wonderful World, of course. BJ Cole's Sleepwalk. Yep. But, they ended up kind of saving the day with this tango and turning it into this really interesting moment. And Buckmaster's score is very, the whole kind of opening scene where Cole's going around in the above ground in the post-viral wastelands. It's almost like the music from a 60s film, which again is great, because this film is inspired by a film from 1962 called La Jetée. So his work was very, like, it wasn't like a lot of the other stuff rolling around in the 90s. It wasn't like Elliot Goldenthal, and it wasn't like, Hans Zimmer. I don't know. It had its own, or James Horner or anything like that. It had its own unique thing. So kudos to Terry Gilliam, and it was Terry Gilliam's music supervisor on the film who had a connection to Buckmaster and got in touch with him, and just kind of kismet, I guess. But it was something that came out of left field, and it's a very Gilliam-esque vibe, and of course it's got that feel like an organ grinder kind of monkey vibe. So as Cole goes along and dancing like a monkey through time, thinking that he has free will, etc. But so this middle section of the movie, he ends up actually falling in love with not just the world, but Madeline Stowe's character, and gets snagged back into the future again, and is actually given a pardon. And it's played differently, in the script kind of overtly lets you know that he's not in a hospital like they say. He's actually just in prison, and everything's bogus, and that the pardon's probably bogus as well. But in the film, you can actually read it that he might be pardoned. Like, he might have actually done a great job, kind of pointed everybody in the right direction. Enough other people can get involved and go in there and take care of business. And they know the army of the 12 monkeys is the source of this virus. But then this beautiful kind of unraveling or tightening of everything happens, in which Madeline Stowe is now bestowed with this information about the 12 monkeys, and jokingly leaves a message on that answering machine, on that number that Cole was given to call to give information to the future. And that is the message that caused them to send him back in the first place. So it's that everything is bizarre. And then she also ends up kind of giving the idea to Goins' dad, Christopher Plummer's character, that his son is somehow dangerous, because later on in the film you realize that Goins is a character who does have mental problems, but his dad is rich and powerful and has dragged him out of an institution. Goins even says he is God at one point, and he gets to kind of skate through on life. You feel his dad is not attentive enough to give him the help he needs, and then they just take him out and let him roam free. But he starts to realize towards the end of the film just how messed up Jeffrey is. So just in case, he decides to take himself out of the equation with his viruses that he's creating, and ends up giving full access to take it away from himself. Very Spider-Man Far From Home here. He gives Edith to his assistant, played by David Morse, who we had seen earlier in the film as a very strange character who came to visit Rayleigh during her book signing and seminar, and was going on about, kind of apocalyptic meanderings and ramblings. So, yeah, that starts, Cole being back in time starts to fuel the events that cause the viral outbreak. But, yeah, and more on that later. But, so yeah, it just keeps tightening up, and you think that maybe there's a chance that, fate is what you make it, or whatever, like that. Everything is all like messed up. Maybe that they will be able to go and live their lives. And towards the end of the film, they decide they're gonna, Madeline Stowe's gonna take him to the ocean and see it, and go to the Florida Keys. And then so there's this new mission. Oh, and there's this amazing scene where he comes back. Sharpen up the knives. One step ahead of you. I'm definitely getting a Sheriff Hopper costume going for Halloween. Don't worry, I'm gonna make that happen. I just got to figure out if I'm going vintage, cop outfit, or if I'm going season 3 '80s Magnum PI, like, dad bod Hopper with the shirt. But more on that later. Yeah. But yeah, when Cole comes back the third time, it's this beautiful transition where now Rayleigh is a full believer because she's now discovered, the photograph of this time traveler that Cole's cellmate there, who was in World War I, and Cole was in the larger picture of it. She realizes that he was there the whole time, and she realizes that he actually is time traveling, and that all the stuff he's telling is probably true. So when he comes back for the final time, he kind of tells the scientist that he should really go back and close things out properly because he's the best for the job. And there's talk about them listening and things like that, but they really do seem to be out of contact when he's back in the past. They actually send people to watch you. And there's that, it again ties into the whole beautiful paranoia of the film. And again, people that have mental problems that think they are being followed by shadowy forces. So not only is he and Rayleigh legitimately being followed and tailed by real policemen, because part of the film she's being held against her will, and they think that she's in danger. And so yeah, there are actual agents out to find them. But then there's this layer on top of that where there's strange, like, street preachers and homeless people and stuff that may or may not be other agents sent from the future to keep an eye on Cole. So it seems like that, and of course the tooth tracking to physically track them, and keeping an eye on those messages from the answering machine, that's how they get their information. So they can't get too much information about what he's doing in the past, but he realizes that if he doesn't want to ever go back, he needs to pull the teeth out, which is an amazing scene when they're in a hourly hotel room, and the desk clerk makes a call to the local pimp because he thinks that Rayleigh is some new girl coming into the turf and working Johns when she shouldn't be. And so it's this strange moment, there's this hilarious moment that comes right after this just brutal, like, romantic, sad moment where Cole is completely like, I'm back in the past, I'm cool, I'm gonna stay here, even if I know I'm a time traveler. Like, if I take on, the onus of being mentally divergent, if I just say I belong here, like, that he can kind of like wish it into existence, that he's made his bed, he's gonna stay there in the past. And so he's like, yes, everything you said about me is true, because his one image that he holds on to of this incident at the airport, it keeps changing a little bit because he sees Jeffrey Goins' character running by at one point, and she keeps saying, like, I wasn't the person you saw in that. Somebody else was, but because of you getting involved in me, you're placing that retroactively into your own memory. So yeah, he's starting to buy into all that. Meanwhile, she's buying into fully that he's a complete time traveler and that this is legit. But there's this hopefulness in the last act with this kind of Mordor-esque pall hanging over it, this darkness hanging over it, that you, the viewer, think, maybe not. This might not be too good. But like they have this optimism that they could maybe live a life. Maybe this whole viral outbreak will be a non-event or something to that effect. So yeah, then rolls in the beautiful Vertigo scene, and they put on these disguises that you recognize as the characters that were at the violent event in his image, and you're like, ah, crap, this isn't going anywhere good from here on out. And oh man, yeah, so they go to this airport to go to the Florida Keys, and Cole decides he's going to leave a last-ditch message to that number and let them know that the 12 Monkeys group are not the perpetrators of this whole viral outbreak, because as you find out, they're just going to drop off Goines' dad. You know, they kidnap him, they're going to drop him off at the zoo, and they're going to take all the zoo animals and let them free into the city. So there's, you know, early CG, well, early-ish CG of, you know, giraffes running on a bridge, and you get to see all these, you know, creatures that you saw up above, you know, the lions and the bears and everything. And again, there's this kind of weird moment where Cole's in the department store that he went searching for samples in the viral future, but he's there while they're setting it up, like they're lifting up an angel that you saw, like an angel statuary that he saw in the future, and there's this, you know, bear statue that's looks similar to a bear he ran into in real life above ground. But again, it kind of makes you think that maybe he's not all right. Maybe he's starting to crack things. And he does mention that he doesn't think that even if he's just feeding this as a line to the scientists, he doesn't think that the human mind can handle being in multiple time periods for too long. It's almost like a nice little counterpart to Shane Carruth's Primer, which I highly recommend for another great time travel movie. But when he starts hearing the raspy voiced guy that calls him Bob all the time, that may be a homeless guy that he ran into once and told him to tear his teeth out, he starts hearing that guy in a bathroom stall that contains a different dude altogether. So you really start to wonder, is Cole hallucinating? Is he, you know, making things up and hearing things? But then the finale happens, and the finale of the film really kind of confused a crap load of people. And this was like early internet, you know, Usenet groups. People were just flying back and forth trying to hash out what happened and what didn't happen. And you know, and you can just watch it from the perspective of, you know, fate catches up with this character, because he makes this call, and then at the same time, David Morse's character, who has now stolen the virus that had been given to him foolishly by the senior Goines when he took it out of his own control, he now has this virus, and he's making plans to go on a world tour and distribute it and wipe out humanity so that the animals can rule the earth again. And he's at this same airport ready to go on his trip. And Dr. Rayleigh sees him and recognizes him from that book signing and remembers that he was a bit of an apocalyptic nut job. And at the same time, Jose comes from... In the script, they talk about a little bit more, because he shows up with a gun that I know a lot of people were saying was a World War I gun, which led people to believe that it was something that when he was in World War I with Cole for like 30 seconds in the course of the movie, you know, maybe a minute and a half or something, maybe he had picked it up there and brought it back. Because in the context of the film, you can't bring things, you can bring things through time if they're inside yourself, like in your tooth or in your leg or whatever, but you're come out with no clothes, you know, Terminator style, you know, so you couldn't just like probably carry a gun back into time. So he had to have picked it up somewhere, but he has this old gun, but I thought I read somewhere else that it was more of like a Civil War era gun. So that makes, like, kind of begs some interesting questions as to where he got it. Did he get it somewhere as an antique when he landed in 1996, or did he actually go on another side adventure or something like that? But Pete's trashing my Kylo Ren sippy cup. Anyways, but yeah, it's this kind of really fascinating quick batch of information, because after Cole leaves his new message and says that no, it's not the army of the 12 monkeys, it's somebody else, you realize that that message was received by the scientists, but it wasn't received by the scientists when they had sent him along. So it's not like information they had all along and they were playing him against, his will and all this stuff to go for the 12 monkeys. Like, they actually take time. It takes a long time to reconstruct these messages. So in the future, by the time they deciphered that message, it was after they, like, all the times they had sent him back in time. So it was fresh information for them. And then they sent Jose back, but he mentioned specifically in the script that he did return from World War I and specifically trained for this last final mission. So they must have sent him to 96 and told him to get this gun. So he hands this gun and he's talking to Cole and he's like, "Why did you tear your tooth out? You got a pardon." So like, he found out about the pardon, and it kind of validates the concept that the teeth were the way the scientists would track people physically and able to pull them out of time. So he said, "Why do you throw your teeth? You had a pardon. Like, he had the keys to the kingdom. Like, why did he waste it? Why did he come back here?" And then he gives him the gun and is like, "Well, you got to take out the dude who's doing it," because, and there's a couple different theories on what's going on with Jose and all that, but basically the crux of the situation seems to be that they don't know who actually releases the virus. So, but they think that Cole maybe does because he left that vague message on the machine. So if they give him the gun, he'll run off after him, and they can figure him out. And because of some information, which Alphabet is already asking about the scientist on the plane, a lot of people were kind of thinking that they thought this was like a last-ditch effort, that maybe Cole would go and shoot this guy and save the day, which I don't believe at all. It's really just the sealing of his fate. And if they knew about his memory, you could say it was they were giving the gun to Jose to give to him so that he would get shot with a gun in an airport by security or cops. But I don't think they did in the context of this film. I think in this case it was just a punishment for not doing what you were told. And then he even mentions that this isn't about the virus, this is about doing what you're told, because Jose says he was sent with a mission to kill Dr. Rayleigh if Cole doesn't go along with this and go hunt down the perpetrator of releasing the virus. So yeah, it sets up this end game, and now Cole's got a gun, and he's, Rayleigh shows up because she saw David Morse's character, and it's like, the guy's here, I saw him. And then she says what plane he was going on, what gate he was at, and then Jose's like, "Peace out." So Jose accidentally, kind of by being at the right place at the right time, they don't need Bruce Willis to go chasing after this guy and finding him now anymore. He got the direct information they needed. So the scientists completely succeeded at that point. He went back in time, told them where they needed to go, and then the end game that Bruce Willis was talking about this whole movie starts, in which a scientist, an old woman that was part of the panel, that was kind of the Inquisition panel, which again was like a dark reflection on the panel of psychiatrists that were always kind of hammering questions at him when he was in the institutions. She goes back in time personally to capture a sample of the pure virus. So at the same time, she's coming back and sending them. And you're also seeing other people, like a prison guard from the future showing up there. And you start to think of how much are they reverse engineering time? How many people are they sending back to do missions, to spy on people or keep an eye on Cole? So yeah, even though they had lost him, because he left a message from the airport, they were able to realize something was going on at the airport, and now Jose found out who delivered the virus, and then it's just nothing but tension, and you're just kind of hoping something will work out, but you kind of know nothing will work out. And a foolish security guard, flags David Morse's character's carry on as being suspicious, so he actually makes him unstopper the virus, and he explains that it's invisible, but there's something in there. So again, a lot of people that were misinterpreting the end of the movie missed that point. There's nothing to stop. It's done. He opened the virus. Even if he was theoretically stopped, it's at this major departation point. So the virus, even if it wasn't traveling from place to place by him, there were already travelers infected, so it could happen naturally. So it was done. It was a done deal. So then there's just the whole, like, how does Cole and and Rayleigh's relationship wind up, and not so good, because you realize that as a young child, traumatized in the airport when he was going to visit his uncle as a youth, this shooting that he witnessed was himself, his future self, being shot because he was chasing after David Morse with a gun, and airport security were like, nope, and they just plugged him. Wow. It's so freaking haunting. I remember Tom York talking about when he was writing exit music for a film, and he was just, we got some Ouroboros action. We okay? It looks like we're okay. I got some spinning tail. Let's wait for my preview to come back. Hopefully it will. Anyways, damn it. Stop giving me spinny tail. But yeah, I remember like him talking about just like how haunted he was by this image of Claire Danes holding a pistol to her head in Romeo and Juliet when he was writing exit music for a film. And there's just this image of Madeline Stowe just like screaming with her hand outstretched, and it's just so freaking haunting. Like it still gives me goosebumps now watching it. And there's this violin moment playing over the soundtrack. It's just completely just sad and and brutal, and you realize that there's no escaping this fate. This is a closed time loop. He dies because he always died there, because he saw it when he was a kid. And then that was originally how Gilliam was going to end the flick. But there was a lot of back and forth. We said back good. Hopefully we didn't lose too much stuff, but there's this little kind of tag on the end. There's the real finale of the film with young Cole with his family going to the car and just kind of looking up at the plane taking off, the plane with the scientist theoretically and David Morse's character, and watching the virus take off, ready to do its deed, and like that being probably one of the last times he was able to see the open blue sky, and it's just haunting. And again, that is like the birth of him as the observer. Watch it. Now he's watching. So he's the observer. He's never going to be quite the same again. And the moment before that is the scene that confused everybody, because one of the scientists is on the plane sitting right next to Tyler Durden. I mean, David Morse's character. And they have this little back and forth, and there's this clever line where he's talking to her, and she talking about their business, and she says she's in insurance. So that obviously is a little bit of a clever reference, but what exactly it was referencing confused a ton of people. A lot of people read it as in she was insuring that. Some people thought she was there to actually kill him, which again serves no purpose. The virus has already been released in the airport. It's done deal. But other people are like, yeah, if Cole failed at his job to shoot him, that she would ensure that it was done. But no, it was more insurance of ensuring the survival of the human race in the future, that they'll be able to go above ground. And there's the question of the gun that's unanswered is they probably realized that, or told Jose to get a crappy old gun that they didn't think was so intense. So anyways, so they give him this crappy old gun. He gets himself killed in the process, and then yes, his job's done, and the scientist is there on the plane. And there's a lot to talk about. Oh, well, she probably just grabs a vial from him or something, but they actually shake hands, and he's undone the stopper and like messed around with it, and she probably got a sample of the pure virus just from that handshake. So that might have been all she needed. or there's some more information that happens after the fact. You know, he goes to the bathroom and she steals a vial or something. But it seems likely enough that she got the pure virus off that handshake. Probably put a baggie on her hand like 5 minutes later. So there's a bit of an optimistic ending there, in that if the scientists are legit and on the level, they, you know, Cole's mission worked, and that they might actually be able to bring people back to the surface. But, you know, Cole's dream of, you know, finding love, you know, living above ground, just enjoying air and music and going to the beach, that's kaput. So it's oh man, yeah, it's a little bit intense and just, yeah, really emotional. But and there's people still talking about the film, about the time travel of the film. I was reading a piece not too long ago that I don't agree with at all, talking about how, you know, they kind of like reading it like those Starlog pieces about Back to the Future, where, you know, the events of Back to the Future and Marty's trip creates obviously another Marty that, you know, they would kind of fill in the blanks as to what that Marty was doing in his reality as everything was going on. So they were kind of writing this piece about the original unchanged timeline before Cole went back to do things, and how, like, there had to be a version where, like, really didn't recognize him, and this happened, and that every time he goes back into the future and then comes back, like, it starts creating more and more of a snowball effect. But there was like an original unchanged timeline, which I don't necessarily agree with. I actually see this film as a circular thing. Like, there's no, it's one of those time travel movies where you can go back in time and mess with things, because if you do, you always did that anyways. So it's like, they can send all these people back even to the 1800s or whatever. It was always there. Like, it's, you know, time is just this closed loop. And so Cole saw this image of himself when he was a kid, himself getting shot. So he was always there. That was always his end. Like, he's not going back and changing and making new splinter timelines and stuff like that. And then on that same, you know, kind of note, even though it tears him up inside that he's the source of some of these ideas coming to life, because he's bringing these notions of a virus destroying mankind, he brings that back, and that actually sets off this, you know, chain reaction of that information getting to the right people, and it creates this chain of events where David Morse has access to this virus, so he can do that. That always happened anyway. So, like, it's so interesting. Like, so it drives him crazy, but that was reality. That was the world. So now the only thing interesting is in the future, like, now there's a new hope or something. So there's a little bit of optimism there, but oof, man, there's some dark optimism. But yeah, so I saw 12 Monkeys. I opening weekend I was in Boston. I wanted to check it out, but I couldn't. And I traveled back home and saw it a couple times in the theaters at least. Kicked my ass. Someone was asking top 5 Gilliam. It's tough because it's usually this or Brazil at my top. But I usually go Brazil just because it was like the first one I really, really fell in love with. Well, I was a huge Time Bandits fan as a kid too, so it's probably like Brazil at the top. This one 4, probably Time Bandits 3, just because of the impact it made me as a kid. Or so yeah, this one at the top. Sorry, Brazil at the top. 12 Monkeys, number 2. Sorry, Time Bandits number 3. 4 would probably be Fisher King. That one had a pretty intense impact on me as well when I saw it. And then 5 is probably Munchausen. Yeah, I'll go with Munchausen for the 5th one. But I still haven't seen Zero Theorem. Thailand I enjoyed, actually, even though EW gave it like an F or a D or whatever. And The Brothers Grimm was, you know, that was kind of like a workman-like Terry Gilliam film. I still have it on Blu-ray, though, just in case. But anyway, so 12 Monkeys blew my mind. And I was completely impressed with Bruce Willis's performance. just that unbridled emotion and rage and just childlike wonder, and just him playing against type, and then Brad Pitt bringing the intensity to another level, and Madeline Stowe being yummy. It was a perfect combination. So, sorry, my voice is crapping out on me because of all this Kylo Ren juice I'm drinking. So yes. Yeah. Hello, kids. Enjoy Baron Munchausen. So the first LD, I know Melinda asked earlier, so sorry, I'm getting back to it. The first LD I got was the 96 release, which is just surround encoded, matrix encoded audio, but letterboxed, and it's a 1.85 to 1 film, so it's not super usual Terry Gilliam stuff. He's not really want to messing around with Panavision too much. Yeah, right, Bruce Willis can turn it on when he wants to, huh? So I grabbed this, right away. I'm pretty sure I pre-ordered this from Suncoast and got it immediately. There's not much really going on here, like no trailers or anything like that. But then a little bit later, in, what was this, 97? Yeah, 97. Universal dropped the Signature Collection box set, which is not actually a CAV box set. The only side that is CAV is side 3. And the rest of the discs are the Hamster Factor documentary and some extras. This added 5.1 surround sound to it and a commentary track. And yes, the Hamster Factor documentary, a bunch of production photos and advertising and marketing publicity materials, storyboards, theatrical trailers, etc. So yeah, and Terry Gilliam and Charles Roven doing the audio commentary. So this is one of those discs, if you have one of those old Laserdisc players that can't play digital audio tracks, you're only going to hear static on one channel and Terry Gilliam and Chuck Roven on the other track. So Hudson Hawk. But yeah, this is a gorgeous Laserdisc, and the commentary track is a little bit longer on here, which was fascinating because, one, the side breaks on this film are some of the best side breaks ever. Because I think the end of side 1 is one bit where they're like, oh, the question is, like, do you want to go back or whatever? And it cuts to black. And it's like, dude, that was so good. And the side 2 break is the amazing Crazy Pimp, because he has this encounter. He thinks he's a tough guy and he's going to rough up, Bruce Willis and Madeline Stowe. And Bruce Willis kicks his ass and drags him in. That scene is so funny. It's coming hard on such a intense emotional scene. She's just like we need cash. It's so like over the top. She's like telling Cole to like rob this pimp, and he drags him into a bathroom. And she thinks he's gonna murder him, but in the moment he cuts his teeth out instead. So like the cops end up rolling in, and the guy's like, I got attacked by a coked up whore and a freaking crazy dentist or whatever. And that's when side 2 ends. It was amazing. But the weird thing, the first time I watched it, was it doesn't end like a normal Laserdisc side where it just stops and then bam, switch aside if you have a dual-sided player. It just keeps on playing black for a little while. And the cause of that is because the audio commentary didn't break properly. Like they kept on yapping about one particular thing and there wasn't a good spot to break the commentary. So there's like a little bit of extra commentary after the end of the scene on both sides 1 and 2. So when this is ported over onto DVD and Blu-ray and everything, they use the same commentary track on here, but because it runs longer than the movie in the middle of the movie, it's been edited to fit. So I mean, it's not really a deal breaker or anything like that, but it is kind of fascinating that this is still kind of a benchmark, and it really is, because I'll get more on that later. But I never did pick it up on DVD, but I grabbed the Universal Blu-ray. Pretty cheap. This thing used to be like, I don't know, like $6 at Target quite often. So, and this has the feature commentary, the Hamster Factor, and the 12 Monkey Archives and all that stuff. And then I got the Arrow Blu-ray recently, which is very nice. It's got a 4K scan, and Terry Gilliam was involved in the scan. It does have some new extras The author of Gilliam on Gilliam talks about the film for a little bit. And, oh, Mikey's in the house, watching the Bob Lazar doc. Nice. Red Rover, Bob Lazar's coming over. So, honey, clear the airstrip and light up that stove. Anyways, so there's that little piece from that author, and then there's a 1996 screening of The Hamster Factor. There was a panel, or just not really a panel, but an interview with Terry Gilliam attached to that screening that's included in here as well. But in HD, it looks great. This film is very, very stylized. Anyways, there's a lot of soft filters thrown on some things. Very much referencing the kind of haze drug, torpor that Cole's in, and there's even some scenes where you're seeing it through his drugged vision. And oh, what a guy! Mikey throwing a little donation. You're a scholar and a gent. But yeah, so the film has some very detailed moments, when you first see Bruce Willis's face, all his stubble and everything like that. It's very, very sharp, even on the Laserdisc. But then some scenes are super soft, but it looks great, and it sounds like the 5.1 on the Laserdisc was the LFE wasn't really too killer, but the and it's not really always ambient. It's just a very creative sound design that's when things pop up around you, they're very specific and very, they call out attention to themselves. They're very discreet, especially when you have, characters talking to you in your head all around you. So it's really interesting. A lot of it does take place up front, but when it does break free and get 5.1, it's pretty impressive. So, the Blu-ray, the Arrow Blu-ray is very nice, but the one thing that struck me is just how much the Arrow Blu-ray is of this Laserdisc box set. 12 Monkeys still has, this is where it's at, man. This box set. These special features are still pretty much the special features of 12 Monkeys. Everybody keeps recycling the Hamster Factor. They keep recycling the Laserdisc commentary. They keep recycling the Laserdisc archives thing with the same backdrop and everything like that. A lot of the Arrow video special features are this Laserdisc, legit. It's the same video quality. So, yeah, man, if you can get this thing cheap and you have an LD player, do it. I'll show you the inside a little bit. It's nothing too much exciting. But there is a nice booklet insert, which I love the gradient on the backside of this thing. And there's a great part in Hamster Factor too, where they show the art, design team coming up with the marketing, for the posters. But yeah, there's a nice little right up in here. Again, you gotta have some signature from Terry Gilliam. But yeah, Hamster Factor is a nice little counterpart, especially to Lost in La Mancha, which was the documentary about his original attempt to make The Man Who Killed Don Quixote, which recently was released on Blu-ray, which I picked up. Now with Adam Driver in the film instead of Johnny Depp. But yeah, so it's 5 sides, 3 discs, and Hamster Factor's great. It's got a lot of Terry Gilliam humor and self-deprecation, and it's so interesting to see him in his creative process, how the Hamster Factor itself references. There's the disc, just regular stuff, and collectible foam insert. But it references this one scene in which, and it's such a quick scene, it's maybe 20 seconds or something, of Cole doing a blood draw on himself after one of his missions. And again, him being a trained animal, not just a monkey, he's also a bit of a lab rat or a hamster. And there's a hamster on a wheel, and the tale is that Terry Gilliam got so obsessed with this hamster behind a hazy window in the far depth of the field of the frame. He was obsessed with it making the proper motions while this blood draw was going on, so much so that it didn't matter really to him what Bruce Willis was doing anymore in the scene. So it's about that kind of obsession and that Cassandra complex of knowing the future that you want to see on a screen and being impotent to make it come about, because either like animals that aren't cooperating, or some sort of problems on the set, something gets in the way of it. So that documentary is really a lot about that, and him kind of breaking down barriers to make his visions happen. And it's great stuff. And a lot of him in the editing bay, and just kind of tearing himself to pieces as the film's about to come out, and he's thinking that it's going to be this complete folly and everyone's going to hate it, but you can really see the joy in him when he watches the film with a test audience and is so excited that the audience was excited about watching it, which makes it, of course, even more of a heart rip when the results come back negative. So the poor dude. But yeah, it's really interesting documentary, so I recommend checking that out. But it is, again, fascinating how much of that Universal Signature Collection Laserdisc is still, the key 12 Monkeys experience. And that would have been nice to have like a modern retrospective with maybe some of the cast and crew looking back on it, because it is, it is written off, as I mentioned earlier, as some people is not really an important film. It's an interesting film. It's a near miss. But again, David Webb Peoples and Janet Peoples' script is so tight that a lot of people wrote off elements that are explained pretty explicitly in it. It's a bit of an onion. Like, the more you watch the film, the more it like kind of gets tighter and holds together. Like I said, there are a couple moment elements. There's a mention of a murder victim that everyone thinks might be Dr. Rayleigh's character at one point that's really not fleshed out. There's the enigmatic bit of the old gun. There's a few other things in there that aren't explained in the script, but just about everything, all the weirdness and the time traveliness and all that stuff, all of that's usually mentioned at one point by some character going on, and some of it's like fleeting and some of it's yelled in a manic fit. So it just keeps getting better and better as time. I would have loved to have seen the Johnny Depp version of Man Who Killed Don Quixote. It was awesome seeing what little footage existed in the documentary itself. But yeah, that would have been way cool. And was it Jean Rochefort was going to be in it? And then, oh man, fell into poor health. But yeah, that would have been awesome. But I am excited to finally sit down and watch the new one as well. But I'm just glad he finally got to make it, at least. And at least he doesn't have that hanging around his neck, that albatross in the future of, oh man, if only you could have made Man Who Killed Don Quixote, that would have been your masterpiece. Like, he never has to like kind of think about that. Like, at least he made it. Yeah. So that what if isn't really a problem anymore. But on many days the 12 Monkeys is still my favorite Terry Gilliam film. But other days it's Brazil. But they both had a very those and Fisher King had a real kind of like emotional subcurrent. Some of the stuff with Robin Williams' past and what he's haunted by in that film, another scene of public violence, as really like scarring stuff, and there's a lot of kind of light moments with the shock jock character played by Jeff Bridges in that film. But those three films like have a real kind of like sadness, and there's like exploration of human trauma, and Brazil is got all sorts of other things on top of that, and like the science fiction futuristic red tape, and the absurdity of it all, and that stuff's fun. So, and there's a little bit of that in this too. Like, you got a feeling like the scientists aren't that far off from like the people that were ruling the world in Brazil and putting ducks everywhere that would explode and stuff. But I like to take them at face value in the context of the film. But definitely seek out La Jetée if you're a fan of 12 Monkeys. And I have not watched the TV series. I can't quite bring myself to do it because I love the film so much. And I've heard some people say the show's okay. But uh-oh, what's going on? Did we crap out again? Oh, looks like we're going okay here. Oh, let's see what's going on over here. But yeah, I mean, like, I just don't want a TV show, like a meh sci-fi TV show, putting its stinky palms on my 12 monkeys. So maybe some point. But yeah, La Jetée, there is, I believe there's a Criterion Chris Marker release. I don't know if it was their Eclipse series or not, but I never did pick that up. But I did get, when DVDs first started coming out, it was this interesting period where there was all these places that were kind of feeling out what DVD was and what they could do with it. And there was a lot of, I'm not giving you my tots, no way. There was a lot of attempts at making DVD like magazines at the time, and I was collecting a few of them, including this series of music-related things called Circuit. And the movie counterpart to that was this short series, which is these gorgeous little digipacks with cool short films on it. And this one's got little Henry Rollins monologue and the original, some folks call it a Sling Blade, with Molly Ringwald, but I really fell in love with the second release of it, which has a fascinating behind-the-scenes documentary about the making of Portrait of a Lady, which I almost enjoy more than the film proper. But it also had La Jetée on it, so I was like, "Holy crap! I can finally see the movie that I had this book that I bought at City Lights, so many years ago, so I could see it as a proper film." So, yeah, I fell in love with it there, and I did a screening of it at a coffee house when I was doing a film series there, and everybody seemed to really dig it. But it's a beautiful film, and it has the same kind of essential story of a futuristic society that sending people back in time, and there's a man who has this vision of this beautiful woman. He's sent back in time and thinks, that he can find love and become a man and everything, and you realize that the scientists from the future aren't so cool about letting that happen, and that it just does away with a lot of the usual grandfathery paradox stuff, and it doesn't concern itself with all the the time splinter lines and changing the past and all that stuff. It's just its own beautiful little circle. It's this little yin yang just kind of spiraling in the universe, and it's so unique. And I don't know, people's scripts, you can tell he just puts a lot of work into them, and a lot of a lot of thought. Again, I loved Unforgiven, and no, I still haven't seen the Man Who Killed Don Quixote. I bought the Blu-ray, but I haven't had a chance to sit down and give it a proper viewing yet. So, probably for next week though, I'll definitely have seen it. So now that I'm not watching 12 Monkeys over and over again. But yeah, so I did rewatch the commentary track, which is good. The only thing I would have liked more on the Arrow video was, the bit with the author who did Gilliam on Gilliam was cool, but it was some of the similar material that was covered in the Hamster Factor. I think it would have been cooler to have a more hands-on, years down the road, decades on, what do you guys think about the film and the impact of the film, and it'd be awesome to hear Terry Gilliam now thinking more about the film from a perspective of on this side of it being a success. But Spencer didn't like Blade Runner. Yeah, the Hampton Fancher, I appreciated that Hampton Fancher was brought on Blade Runner 2049. But yeah, his stuff he's got his own kind of unique brand of weirdness. And I never did see what the hell was the other one he did there? What the hell is it? Something Man, Chicken Man, Biscuit Ball Man. Yeah, it's gonna kill me. But anyways, it'll come to me. But his work with David Peoples, on Blade Runner, that was a kind of perfect melding of the minds, and yeah, you really got to feel that David Lloyd Peoples put a lot of thought into the Blade Runner script. But I'm still totally cool with Blade Runner 2049 in any days. But I just heard too that Hans Zimmer had to give Christopher Nolan the shove for Nolan's new film for the first time in years because of Denis Villeneuve's Dune. So Hans Zimmer was like, I gotta do Dune. So, you know, Hamster Factor and Hampton Fancher really do sound alike, right? Oh yeah, so 4K Cinemas. Yeah, I saw you had picked up the widescreen War Games. Yeah, I'd like to pick that up someday. Some of those 90s reissues are tasty when they would finally do like a proper letterbox release. Sometimes throw on some AC3. Yes. But anyways, so yeah, so I'm glad some of you guys dug 12 Monkeys too. I mean, it is a weird film. You know, the Terry Gilliam, you know, I mean, you can say the auteur theory is out the window, but there's that whole like thing I mentioned before, how it's beautiful how Terry Gilliam created this aesthetic that then became its own thing, and then everyone else knows about it. So he, I don't know, his like auteur imprint ends up getting put on a film, whether or not he tries to. But yeah, 12 Monkeys is always going to be one of my all-time favorites and favorite time travel films. I love time travel films in particular, and you know, science fiction in general. But it just knocked it out of the park for me. But you know, for a casual viewer, it's pretty strange at times. You know, again, those wide angle lenses and everything in your face, and like a lot of it's just blown out and like super like harsh contrast in some of the scenes, and yeah, it's got a weird little dynamic to it for sure. Oh man, what's going on? You guys arguing about stuff here? Yeah, spread the love, man. Something like that. Anyways. So I don't know what was the next movie. I think I had something on tap. Damn it. I'll try and remember what it is. But I know we did We'll have to kill the rest of the 95 movies so that I love, like that little cluster there, and do 7 and Strange Days at some point too. But I think we were going to break free and do something a little newer. I just can't remember what the hell it was. Anyways, I'll think about it a little bit more. But what do you guys got going on this weekend? Anything cool? Anyone going to see the weird CGI? Did anybody see the weird CGI Lion King yet? I am definitely not intrigued to run out and see that right away. It just leaves me cold. But I know it's going to make some dough this weekend for sure. I'm hoping to catch up with some melodies. I got nothing this week. It's sad. The only one I got from the previous week was that Army of Darkness bootleg. This one, but yeah, it's been dead this week. I'm gonna have some stuff probably for next week, but that's the only one I got. And yeah, I haven't gotten any CDs since Saturday. I haven't gotten any Blu-rays since Saturday. I haven't gotten any books since Saturday. If you missed the Saturday live stream, I showed all the soundtrack CDs and stuff I picked up for $1 a pop at a flea market near me, and a few other Blu-rays and things like that. But yeah, next week will be a little bit more exciting on that. But yeah, I just haven't had a chance to get out, and it's been a wacky week. A lot of crazy stuff going on. Just boring tasks that kept me from picking up fun things. So, and though I did go to Target one day because their 20% off sale was still going on, and nothing was going on. I was actually gonna finally pull the trigger on the 4K releases of Stranger Things season 1 and season 2, but they're always out of stock because they were on sale, but they're always out of stock. So I'm just gonna have to order them online. And but yeah, I know the season 1 doesn't have HDR or anything like that, but my Blu-ray was a little glitchy anyway, so I figure I'll get that 4K Blu-ray combo pack, and that'll be a good Blu-ray replacement, and we'll see how that goes. Anyways, what are you guys fighting about? Batman and Robin? Someone has to fight about it. But Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, 2 shelves and nothing inside. Yeah, it's really sad. There's that. There's like a couple like little islands that they have up front now, and that's like where all the 4K stuff is crammed for the most part. And yeah, a few aisles of things like that. They're actually like more like expanding vinyl and books and things like that. So books and words and stuff. And there's always some dude in like the back aisle, like scanning every Funko Pop into his phone and like looking to flip something. And like, I think I am gonna go back. They have a Chief Hopper with the 80s Tastic shirt, season 3 Hopper action figure. I'm gonna go pick that up. It was expensive, but Captain Supermarket. It's not bad. It's actually it's definitely better than the bootleg. Audio quality is pretty good. It's that movie Army of Darkness is all over the map. Anyways, some scenes are razor sharp, and then some are a little murkier, and some of the composite shots and the forced perspective shots and everything like that are like a little hokey. But that was the one thing I liked about. There's people have talked a lot about how sometimes VHS quality or bootleg quality will make a movie better or something, and one of the rare times that like really happens for me is Army of Darkness, because the kind of less like kind of layered and clear the assault on Ash with all the little ashes in the windmill is, like the better that scene plays, because like the clearer and the better the scan, the kind of optical layering of it looks really, really hokey. And yeah, like obviously the little ashes are very, very first generation, and the backing image is very, very grainy and second or third generation, and when they're like pushing his nose, it doesn't even look remotely realistic. But that scene plays awesome. Well, one, it plays awesome longer anyway. The longer the better. There's even like the longer version from the TV cut. But the longer it is, the better. And that scene plays great in the bootleg cut. And the fact that it's darker and it's not perfect, looks fantastic. So definitely worth picking up. It's not the letterbox, but it's not super wide movie, and there's a few things that are like matted like in camera, so you can see the matte line even in the non-letterboxed scan of it. But for the most part, it's quote unquote open matte. But it's great just to have. The artwork's really fun, and but it's definitely worth watching. Like most of the film is as good as the US Laserdisc, but yeah, like your results may vary depending on the scene. But what else is going on? Oh, what did we do? Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? Dude. I kept hearing about like 70mm releases, but I could never find a freaking like list, like a comprehensive list of where it was screening. It was just like some guy would be like, my movie theater in Vancouver is showing it, and some guy would be like, my movie theater in Boise is showing it. I'm like, great. Should I just look at every movie theater in the world's website and hope it's on there? It's like, only if there was a freaking list somewhere where I can see where it's playing. But I never did find that. It eluded me. But yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing it. But it'd be nice to see it in 35 even. Anything. But yeah, I'm down. I'm definitely down for the Once Upon a Time. Super psyched for that. Favorite Japanese poster? That's a damn good question. I know there's some interesting ones. There's also some weird ones. Like I've got like a love-hate relationship with Japanese posters, but it's a totally different like design aesthetic for the most part, because a lot of it's photo cut and paste, and it seems very striking. And a lot of times it's like, whoa, it's so different than the artwork we're used to here in the States. But sometimes it's just because it's different doesn't mean it's necessarily better. I've seen some things that are just kind of weird layouts, and but sometimes you can create some pretty fascinating things with the, with just the photos. But there's a classic Seven Samurai poster that's, up there for my favorite Japanese poster. Yeah, and I'm trying to think if I have any. I don't have any really good Japanese posters myself, sadly. They used to sell them a lot at conventions when I used to go to the cons all the time, but yeah, I don't know. The Following, yeah, I bought The Following DVD when that first came out, and now it's on Criterion. I haven't picked up the Criterion one, but I enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy it like as much as Memento or anything, but it was like a good stepping stone to Memento for sure. I like Nolan a lot because he's got, even when he's aping Michael Mann or something, he's got his own unique weirdness. Like there's this, it's like the more hyper realistic his films are, the more like, that's why Inception was so perfect for him. It's almost the more dreamlike they are. So he's got this like, it's like he's capturing a world that's like our world, but slightly different. And there's that, I don't know, you can kind of get lost in it. I love that kind of quality about it. And yeah, obviously Memento's about a character with, memory, and his interaction with reality is hindered, to say the least. But yeah, there's this gorgeous kind of vibe. All the stuff that he's done in IMAX and everything is really impressive. And Interstellar in particular was just it's almost like it's kind of creep. Like a lot of this stuff actually creeps me out. Like some of the concepts and the kind of like coldness and like inhuman concepts of like what they're going through in some of the moments of Interstellar, and just some of the visuals. It's just some of the most like beautiful, but it's really disturbing to me for some reason. It's really the most like, it just like kind of puts me on edge, but in an awesome way. But like like you just kind of think about being that character, not only like that detached and far from home, but like even far beyond like anything that like humanity has experienced in terms of time, passages of time, and just like just being on all these other planets and what happens there, and the danger at every moment. It's just it's like overwhelming. I love it. Prestige, yeah, also very creepy. That movie was cool. But yeah, so I can understand why people don't like Nolan. And yeah, there is that kind of strangeness that I think would definitely put him at arm's length from a lot of people. And I hear that a lot. I hear a lot of people don't like his films, but there's some kind of intangible quality of his films that I don't get anywhere else. Even when and I love that he is occasionally referencing Michael Mann, and I love that so much of Inception is a love letter to On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Like, I was all in on that. But it was so just unique, and like I just couldn't believe that I had seen when I saw Inception, like a huge movie like that deeply weird and like almost art house and strange, and it was like, holy cow, man, like this guy's getting away with some crazy shit. But yeah, his themes are, when I saw Interstellar, man, like I hadn't even seen the trailer, and I just saw, I hadn't seen the film, but I saw that trailer. Didn't even know anything about like the space travel aspect of it really, or what it was going on, but there was just that haunting image of like Matthew McConaughey in tears in his truck, and I was just like, holy crap, I am 100% like, I'm in this movie, I'm tapped in. I've just juiced it in the vein, like, and I didn't even know what the hell it was about, really. And I didn't want to know from that point either. That was the other thing. I was like, nah, I don't want to watch any more trailers for this thing. this thing, like, yeah, it was like, yeah, this is almost like the trailer itself almost made me like break down. I was like, I gotta see this damn thing. But it's a really weird, that's such a weird film. Man, so many great space travel movies within such a short period of time. I'm freaking addicted to The Martian. That's a totally different vibe altogether, but I can't stop watching The Martian. And yeah, The Dark Knight is definitely, yeah, taking that heat vibe, but I just watched Dark Knight Rises again recently too, and it's got that same, like, that the opening, bit with the airplane with Bane is that same thing. I'm on edge, not even because of like the story or the characters, like everything about it is like hyper realistic, but also like a little wrong at the same time. Like there's like a element of insanity in it. I don't know, maybe it's like a Paul Verhoeven kind of thing, where he's got that like element of insanity in all his films, but like everything's just like a little off and a little strange, and it's like, a scene I've seen in plenty of other movies, like mid-air hijacking. It's been done before, not exactly the same, but it just delivered this like frisson, this vibe that nothing else did. Yeah, he's got some juju, and a lot of people don't like him, but yeah, I don't know. I'll take like a beautiful misfire of his over, yeah, so many other like wins from other directors. Yeah. And yeah, his, the quality of his films, like on Blu-ray and 4K and everything, are awesome. But yeah, so there we go. Nolan, love him or hate him. Yeah, Inception and Contact. Contact is I got it on laserdisc. I saw it in the theaters, but I like the book a lot more. But the book was better. But there's some moments in Contact that are so good that it kind of overshadows the rest. Nolan loves bass. What are you talking about? There's no bass. That's alright. Couldn't keep a straight face there. Yeah, there's a little. Yeah, I can see some License to Kill there. Yep. Bane's hanging out with Sanchez. Going on a mission. Yeah, I really like Dark Knight Rises in particular a lot too, and that's a real like overly complicated film, but I appreciate that about it. Just like Dark Knight is also overly complicated in my favorite kind of way. But yeah, Interstellar, I love that, and I'll be watching it again. It's a little too much, a little too intense at times. Like the stuff, obviously, the personal kind of connections in it, and it's like it's like like I just get creeped out contemplating like his position as the film progresses and how farther and farther removed he gets. It's, I don't know, it almost performs a lot of the same. Obviously, it owes a huge debt of gratitude to 2001: A Space Odyssey. But as a viewer, I actually tap in to a lot of the kind of thematic juju better the way it's delivered in Interstellar than I do in 2001. Like, going through the finale of the film, going through the monolith and the whole wrap up and everything like that. It's just kind of more fascinating and interesting, but there's a more of an emotional connection in Interstellar when some of the really abstract stuff starts winding down to the end, and it's just it's wow. I don't know. It was tough for me to watch. I don't know what it is about it. It's just that thought of almost like losing your mind or losing your sense of yourself and reality, and being completely severed from time and reality and space and everything like that is it's like really fascinating scientifically, but then it's also kind of like immensely scary and sad almost at the same time. Yeah. Ugh. Gives me the heebie-jeebies. Love it though. Yeah, man, Contact has got, one, the whole setup with the original, Florida drop with Jake Busey and everything like that. That whole section is freaking awesome. It's just too cool. Like the music, the pacing, the editing of that whole section is great, and how you can see the device, a little bit, and they just keep revealing a little bit more of it, but it's all shot, very, much like any kind of Cape Canaveral space shuttle launch or anything like that. It's, there's a lot of handheld shots, and it's very matter of factly, and so cool. And then when she's talking with Haddon, and he's like, "Want to take a ride?" Like that whole thing, the music right there, the cut to like the just kind of the Japanese location, and how it's like always like rainy and dark and everything like that. I just love the texture of it, and it's just so damn satisfying. Like, so that whole part too, and the whole like contact journey and everything, like, it's pretty fascinating. Like, I didn't fall in love with the wrap up. I liked the concept a little bit more in the book, where there was an actual team. And obviously, if you've seen South Park, all that thing, and it's just her dad. Obviously it wasn't just her dad, but there was a lot more, like, there was a lot more like of a story reward in the book, in terms of like the science of it and everything else. Whereas Zemeckis went full on, like, kind of not saccharine, but he just kind of abandoned that angle of it, and was just kind of played the sentimentality a little bit too much. So I would have preferred a different ending to Contact, but there's some moments in there that just rock. Yep, Dr. Zhivago and Dark Knight Rises. Yep, I still love. There's one scene where the melee starts going on, and the cops are all, punching people. There's this fracas going on when Gotham's falling apart, and there's this great scene where one of the extras is going for a punch, and the guy he punches just like reacts, and like it's like they're like miles apart, but it's like great if you freeze frame. You're like, yep, nope, not even close. Why build one when you can build two for twice the price? Oh, man. Good stuff. And again, that opening cosmic pullback, that's some classic stuff right there, too. So, I saw Contact, was that opening weekend? Sony Cherie Theater in Boston, when I was living up there. I went with a buddy of mine, and it was before, I think it was just about to move out to Los Angeles. So it's probably the last movie I saw at the Sony Cherie. Now it's no longer a cinema, sadly. But I was like, I liked it, but had issues with it. I still do, but I'll still own it on laserdisc. And that was one of the first when I was getting DVDs for the first time, I sent away for a free DVD, because I had enough like Warner Brothers purchase points from that you like pull off from the inside of those snapper cases. So I got a free copy of it. It took like months to show up. I think I still have that kicking around somewhere. No, I'm with you, Pete. Dark Knight is, it's up there. Batman Returns is probably still my favorite Batman film, but Dark Knight's pretty damn close. They're both way up there. But yeah, I mean, in terms of story plotting and everything like that, Dark Knight definitely takes it. Batman Returns is, it's got an interesting story and everything like that, but it's more of like a, character journey for me, and like it's more interesting, the Catwoman story and Bruce Wayne's journey in that film in particular. So it's more of like an emotional kind of connection to that film, and just the style of it all. But the ArcLight Theater in Boston. Ooh, yeah, I haven't seen a film proper in Boston all the time. There was that that Cinemaplex on the other side of the Common. I used to go to some screenings there occasionally. I forget if that was a Lowe's or whatever it was. But every time I've seen a film there recently, it's always been up there. I think I went to a Donnie Darko screening, and what else? Wolverine, X-Men Origins, and Sunshine. Danny Boyle was supposed to be there for a Q&A, and then his plane got grounded, or he was like trapped at the airport or something, so that didn't happen. But occasionally I'll go up there for a screening. But Phantasm, best. I thought you meant like Phantasm. The Don Coscarelli film is the best Batman. But like, I cannot actually argue with that. If that is your position. Halloween 3 is the best Batman movie of all time. But yeah, Mask of the Phantasm is an awesome flick. I got that on Laserdisc too, of course. But yeah, Batman Returns is probably always going to be my favorite live action. But Dark Knight's nipping at its heels for sure. Oh man, but yeah, the script is the Sam Hamm script for Batman 2 is that was pretty weird. It's very different than what the Burton film actually ended up being. But I still have to release. I got a video actually way late now, but Lee's just spotlight talking about the 1989 Batman. It was originally supposed to drop for the timing of the anniversary, but that didn't quite happen, as you could tell. But yeah, I still have to post that. And I've got a crap ton of top 10 lists. So shout out to Christian Hand Horror. He puts out a lot of good top 5 lists on his channel. If you're a horror fan, film fan, check out his channel. And check out his room. He's got a killer room of horror movie memorabilia. But somebody else was requesting some more top 5, top 10 stuff. And after watching Stranger Things Season 3, I was determined to go on an 80s binge. So I've got like a ridiculous amount of 80s related top 10 videos. Laserdisc, just film related, different genres, etc. So look forward for that nonsense clogging your notification screen. Let's see. Michelle Pfeiffer. I like some Michelle Pfeiffer Catwomans. I did enjoy Catwoman in Dark Knight Rises as well. That was some good stuff. Adam West Batman film. Oh yeah, some good bat gear in that, especially on his utility belt. I need that in LD. I think I still have the DVD. I got it for like $5 from Target one time. Yeah, it's like the super best episode of the series. Yeah, right? But yeah. Good times. Oh yeah, speaking of dead batteries, how we doing? I did bring up my power strip, or my power pack, but my power strip is buried behind some speakers and random things like that, so I just usually wait for my laptop to die. But it is getting kind of late anyway, so I gotta go to work in the morning. And we did yap about some 12 Monkeys for quite some time. It helped I didn't have any pickups or anything like that, sadly. But yeah, again, if you're into Laserdisc and you're in the Laserdisc Forever group on Facebook, yeah, maybe hang out, check in every once in a while tomorrow night. Just saying, just in case something goes down or something like that. Maybe not. Rubber shark. Yeah, I've got some shark repellent in my utility belt just in case I run into rubber sharks. And I always love walking up the side of some buildings occasionally. It's always a good time. But yeah, this upcoming weekend's one of the rare times when I don't have a ton of things already scheduled, so I might actually get a chance to fire up the projector and watch some flicks, watch some Blu-rays this weekend. And but I'm doing a lot of rearranging stuff around the house and everything like that too. I'm installing a bunch of shelving, and we just installed a new unit to hold some Blu-rays, and there's always something going on. Well, yeah, what do you want to know, Pete? Live stream things. I'm intrigued. Go for it. I don't know what'll happen in the LDF group. Something. I don't know. Maybe nothing. I don't know. Might just be someone will post a cat picture or something like that, but we'll see. Yeah, maybe like tomorrow evening-ish or something to that effect. Just saying. I don't know. I can't promise anything, but see what's going on. Ah, man. Yes. Yeah. Next film. I'm trying to remember what we had on tap. There was something newer. And we won't do any of the Christopher Nolan movies. um, or we could actually go something like really old school, but I'm trying to think of something a little more. Last Jedi in 4K. Did I see it in theaters? I saw it twice in the theaters. Actually, I saw it opening weekend, and then I went again with my parents on what was it? The Return of the Kitty Litter Box. I went with my parents on New Year's Eve. They always go see a movie on New Year's Eve, so I went to go see it again. Actually, I think I went to go see it on my wife's birthday the first time. So, and I did a review. I don't think I'd ever posted, but I had some issues with the pathetic humor of it. But that was about it. I didn't really have any major complaints other than that. I didn't enjoy it as much as Force Awakens, but it had some moments, and the whole Casino Planet stuff, yeah, didn't really leave me too excited. But I don't know. I don't mind watching it. Looks great in 4K. And yeah, new Top Gun trailer. Yeah, I gotta watch that. Maybe if I don't fall asleep when I'm doing a couple of things tonight before I hit the hay, I'll watch it. But yes, it is a crime seeing The Last Jedi, and the internet will destroy you if you see it. But oh yeah, film criticism is turned into a weird batch of hyperbole and agenda, and nobody's really talking about movies anymore. Some people are, thankfully, but it's just so much other nonsense wrapped up with it, and I can't handle it. But yeah, I didn't have any. Last Jedi didn't piss me off. Like after Return of the Jedi, like I was pretty much determined that there was never going to be any other Star Wars movies ever. So everything I see now is almost like an alternate universe. It's like a little bit of gravy. So I don't really have that much of a vested interest in the success or failure of any of the stuff. It's just kind of like a kind of interesting curiosity. And when it's entertaining, mildly, I'm fine. Like it's just the bar is just kind of middling. And yeah, I don't know. It's it was entertaining enough for me, and like I said, I had some issues with some of the humor and some of the elements that went, but then there were some other things that I liked. Doesn't make it proper responses. Yeah, and again, it seems silly complaining about it on YouTube, but yeah, it's part of the problem. There's this weird echo chamber of. It's almost to the point of insanity now, where it's just a lot of it's clickbait stuff, but it's just you just have to have the most extreme opinion and reaction to things, even before films are released. The less like actual film viewing and and criticizing, the better. The more hyperbole, the more clicks you'll get or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of weird stuff going on, and there's a lot of screenwriters. I've noticed it's weird. Like the amount of screenwriters are out there that know everything about film theory and yeah, everybody knows like what the third act of episode 4 of Game of Thrones should have been because of their screenwriting career. But it's weird. Like I mean, obviously as a film goer, you react to the story and it connects with you or it doesn't connect with you, and you might have some ideas of how you thought it should have gone or something, but it's turned a corner. It's gone bad. Where I hear people like just react to things so extreme without even processing it. So it's really that's the other thing. I don't like watching all the videos about the things you missed and 18 things you missed in this film or something. I miss films like 12 Monkeys or Blade Runner, where it would, or Brazil, where I might have to actually watch it for a decade before I really know what's going on with it. But yeah, I don't know. There's just too much now, too much going on. A lot of the complaints I don't really care about, either if I wasn't invested enough in the characters or whatever. But the characters that I were kind of invested in had some interesting payoff stuff in it. So no problems. I know it's heretical, but yes, and yeah, the Bond thing is interesting. Again, I'm more. I don't like when they flirt with just shaking things up in the case of just capturing some sort of zeitgeist or something, like in the 70s, like when they were like, oh, let's have an American be Bond. It's, every once in a while they just want to shake things up to kind of tap into modern audiences' needs or whatever like that. So it's not even a case of the changing of gender or any of those dynamics. It's just like, I don't know, just don't mess around with any of the things in a goofy fashion, any of the kind of important elements of the Bond series. And the like when John Cleese was introduced as R, I'm like, well, that's just stupid. That's like a joke that fans would make, like, oh, he's Q, he's R. But if you read the books, like, people had names because of like the branch they worked for. So R was some other dude in, like, I don't know, the Rhine or something like that. So it's like there would not be an R that worked in Q branch. Like, Q was the quartermaster. Like, he was Q because he did that job. So John Cleese would not be R. So this is just one of those cases. Like, I would prefer a situation where the 007, like, it makes sense in the film that James Bond is retired. Again, I'm always yearning for a movie where there's a status quo, where there's a James Bond on a mission. But they're really, post Quantum of Solace, they're really excited to shake things up with every movie and either reboot it or set it up so he's rogue, or he's I just want him to do a mission, or the last film where MI6 entirely was on the verge of being torn apart and everything's a threat, and I just want him to roll up in Am's office and get a mission and go do it and have that be a thing. But no, they have to have him retired, obviously, in this one. Which ties in with some of the materials at the end of the last film, so that's okay, whatever. It does tie in a little on Her Majesty's Secret Service there. He found Lee Sedou. He's going to walk away from everything. That's cool. But yeah, I'm just not really, like, zazzed about the 007 number being reused. Like, I don't know. I figured they would be retired after he left, and the next person, that gets hired is another number down the line. So, in the films there had been a few other 00s, and the books there's mention of the other 00s, but it seems like another R situation, which is just a very, like, cheesy, like, fan-centric, like, and not like deep fans, but like surface fans, kind of like, oh, well, that was another 007, like, Q's gone, he's R now, like, it's just low-hanging fruit, essentially. So, yeah. So, that's your job if you accept Spencer. You got to infiltrate Eon. Just take down some claim. Gotta do some Inception work. Get in there, somehow take control. But yes, we're talking Star Wars and James Bond at the same time. Yeah, I liked a lot of elements of Skyfall and Spectre, but there was always like a few elements of got to go 2 steps back, for every bit you moved forward. Now, at the end of Quantum of Solace, like, I was satisfied with the setup of this new reboot and where things would go, and I really thought the next film was going to be a mission film, and everything was established, and maybe they would start to work in Q and Moneypenny and all that stuff. And instead, Skyfall was like, we need to go back and reboot it into the 60s and do this thing. It's like, well, it's cool, but, Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace already happened. Like, it did some fun stuff, but I don't know. And it just moved into the realm of Daniel Craig's Bond being, old and long in the tooth and decrepit, like a little too soon. Like, I don't know. I feel like we got robbed of a good, like, couple movies in between that where he's just a regular agent, like, who goes on missions and is, not, in danger of losing his job or on the end of his career. And I don't know. But I mean, there was a lot of it. Roger Deakins' cinematography in particular in Skyfall was fantastic. I enjoyed elements of the score. There's some great set pieces. It's a mix. Pete also likes Quantum Degree. Yes, I actually enjoy Quantum of Solace a lot. Not as much as Casino Royale. Casino Royale is top tier for me. That's top shelf. Much to a lot of people's chagrin, but good times. But yes, what are you gonna do? But so Mr. Robot, Elliot, he is now in it, but intrigued to see him. Christoph Waltz is returning as Blofeld, but I'm cool with Rami Malek being a Bond villain. I can see him pulling it off. I mean, they've had good choices of villains, for sure. And yeah, Spectre, the thing that I didn't connect with was the concept of Blofeld having to have a personal. I mean, I really appreciated that they dove back into Fleming to retrieve some of this information and create a cinematic incarnation of and Skyfall set that up too with Bond's history and his parents and that whole thing. But yeah, I don't know, just the way it was like, it just seemed like it was a leftover from a James Bond Jr. show where, like, he was like Blofeld's buddy and they used to go on wacky adventures together and until it went bad. It's like, I hate movies where everybody has to be related to each other. I did watch the new It trailer. I think it looks pretty good. I'm psyched. Again, I was like half in, half out with the last movie. I know my wife hated it because some of the changes they made, but some of the things they did were really dynamic. And Pennywise in the garage coming out of the side projector was like nightmare fuel for sure. And yeah, I liked Bill Skarsgård's performance, and overall, like, I have a soft spot for the old TV miniseries for sure. But I like the casting of the sequel, and it looks like some of the visuals they're doing with Pennywise seems really really intense, and I'm down. Yeah, Spectre stole from Goldmember, right? They all went to finishing school together. M and Bond and Blofeld were all. Everybody always were related or went to school together. Yeah. And I didn't love the concept of everything that happened from Casino Royale on being the tendrils of Blofeld to destroy Bond and everything he loves. That I didn't like. And I would have loved more time in his secret lair. He had a cool ass secret lair, and they're only there for a couple minutes. And then they go back to London and do some stuff, but more time in the secret lair. But whatever. But there's some stuff in Spectre I also really love, and Hoyt van Hoytema's cinematography different than Deakins, but also it's a little bit more muted, but also gorgeous. Yeah, I don't know. We shall see. I'm still going to go see it. But, again, like the press reactions to any kind of stuff that's leaked early on is sometimes blown out of proportion. So, I'll wait and see, like, how any of these changes are implemented and what the reality of it is. And I'm not going to react that strongly to some of the news, in particular just how much they get wrong on a regular basis when it comes to Bond news. So... But yeah, it's just a lot of people reacting really strongly. Thanks, Pete. I appreciate that. I try and keep it positive whenever I can, but I know it's definitely not in my economic interest. it's definitely in my economic interest to be like, I don't know, Grace and Frankie, Wyatt deserves to rot in hell for what they did to the characters. Yeah, have that blasted in giant font on my thumbnail. Like I just keep seeing like there's some sort of thing in my YouTube feed now today about Stranger Things 3, why did they do this? I'm like, no, not even gonna watch it. I really like season 3. Like, leave the hyperbole at the door, man. Christopher Nolan, why Interstellar killed your cat? But yeah, it sells. It sells like crazy. So, yeah, what are you gonna do? Make some hyperbolic videos, apparently. Oh yeah, molecular blood trace thingy. Been a problem. Yeah, and it's always weird too when they have like elements of, well, even though the older Bond films would get kind of wacky with the tech. When you only live twice. When he has a safe cracking device that can fit in his suit, and then in On Her Majesty's Secret Service, it's this huge beast that has to be like lifted by crane into the side of the building. So, it's like, I don't know. The molecular blood trace thing is like, I don't know. It just didn't seem like anything new or important or whatever. But yeah, you gotta have the big red arrow. Yeah. What you missed, and 10 things you didn't notice. And I love. I talk about the oral knots all the time, but they did one of those videos for like 10 like facts about the Star Wars universe, and like 9 out of 10 of them are total bullshit. But like, like I forgot. Oh, what was it? I think the only one was a Return of the Jedi fact. But oh man, it's just, and they spin it like for real, like it's one of those like 10 things you never knew about Star Wars, and the comments are great because everyone's just reacting so intensely to it. Like, I think you're wrong. I don't think this is right. Yeah, season 1 of Stranger Things is. I'm ready to, once I get those 4Ks. I think I'm ready to go back and rewatch the whole thing, in anticipation of season 3 hitting. I'm almost bummed that, I mean, binging is fun and everything like that, but I'm almost bummed that, the model now for streaming is to release everything at once, except for shows like The Grand Tour, which of course isn't a narrative show, but whenever it's a narrative show, everyone releases it at once. But not necessarily like week to week. It would almost be cool if it was released maybe in like chunks of 3 or something like that, like from week to week. It's just because, as a viewer, like Stranger Things season 3 was kind of unique in that the time they released it, like the film was about the 4th of July weekend, they released it on the 4th of July weekend, and it really became this kind of cultural event where everybody was watching it at the same time and experiencing it. Like, it's all about this love of summer break, and a lot of that spilled out into reality, and it just kind of created this really cool moment. And there's Stranger Things merchandise everywhere I'm going, and it's just, I don't know, it just created this vibe. And if it was kind of staggered a little bit, it would kind of like stretch that out a little bit more. Like, I don't know, it's tough when something comes and it makes an impact, and it's like, a meme that's hilarious, and then 2 days later everybody's over it. Obviously we're in a state of speed up now anyways, but it'd be cool to like kind of prolong the energy of season 3 and how it connected with the summer in particular. So yeah, it would have been cooler if I mean, obviously you can actually cool to talk about it again, but it's like I'm kind of not over it, so it's kind of like I don't want to stop talking about it. So, and that's like, I kind of wish it was like, maybe like 3 seasons a week for a couple of weeks and do it like that. But yeah, you got to drop it all at once. But episode 7 of season 2. I had that reaction to it at first because Funko Pop 11s, they're everywhere. The 11 episode felt like at first one of those shows, like Supernatural or something like that, where they have it, and I think my reaction to it was only because of this, because there's so many of those shows that have that blatant spin-off bait episode where it's written as almost a backdoor pilot for a new television series. So there was that thing. It was like, oh, yep, here we go. Number 8's Wacky Adventures. It's like being that pitched as that show. So yeah, there was that knee-jerk reaction to it, and because it was so disconnected from the rest of the show, it's in Chicago, it's leaving behind all the charms of Hawkins and everything like that. But in the terms of the story of the season, it like worked really well. Like that episode made sense. Like her journey made sense, and it was cool when she came back, all looking like the girl from the Art of Noise close to the edit video, like kicking ass with some shit. Like I don't know, like I actually did enjoy that episode. Like it was just a cynical reaction to it at first. Like that was the number 8 show that they're totally setting up here, and her buddies. But if you just watch it as its own thing and its own story, like the one episode kind of made it more of a slap in the face that you're not going to be hanging out at Hawkins in this episode. But it was, I think it was better that it was all in one episode as opposed to stretching that out. Like here's 11 back in Chicago doing some more stuff. Like they just kind of got it all out of their system in one episode, and it was a pretty cool episode. There was some cool stuff going on, some interesting characters and stuff like that. But I think it was just a reaction like, oh man, I already know these characters, I love these characters. Are you trying to force feed these other a-holes into my world and trying to sell me on this stuff? And like you just kind of put up the walls against that episode. But no, I think it works fine as its own thing. But whatever. What else is going on here? Bad dub of Neon Genesis, huh? Oh, Don't Breathe. I never got around to watching that. I've been meaning to pick up the you watched it feebly. I've been meaning to get that on not laserdisc, Blu-ray. I keep seeing it on sale, so I'm gonna get that. Yeah, Supernatural 15 seasons, crazy, right? Because they were gonna end at season 5, and they're like, "Yeah, we did what we did." Right? Yeah, 11 looks like she's coming from a metal show, ready to kick some ass. And Hopper's like, "Yeah, this look, yeah, I'm okay with it. I'm pretty cool with it." No, I think it led up to a strong episode 8 and 9, like double whammy. So, and I think I'm probably gonna like that episode even more the second time I watch it, because I won't be like as cynically charged about it, about its appearance. I mean, they might have been trying to pitch a 8 and her buddies side adventure, but whatever. But yeah, all those shows do it. Like Criminal Minds would always do it, and they always have to, like, whenever they have a new Criminal Minds, they have to, speaking of feebly make an episode where they all happen to know all the people from the BAU that you already, and it's like they always kind of like push it down your throat so that they're already characters you know and love, and you're like, no, I don't know these characters. Earn my love. Favorite seasons of Supernatural is tough because, like, there's like kind of episodes here and there, and I love all the classic stuff, but I love all the Ben Edlund stuff in particular, and but for the newer stuff, I really liked, at least when they started doing the kind of more throwback things, and them having a lair, like obviously that was like something they didn't plan from the beginning, having this whole connection to a secret society, and come on, I'm spinning. Why am I spinning? But yeah, I love kind of old throwbacky stuff and secret societies and things like that. So I love that they got a lair that they can hang out with, and so from like that point on, yeah, I was like really jazzed for it. But I don't know, like each season like has its own kind of interesting thing. Like the stuff with the Leviathans was pretty cool that season. Like sometimes like the overarching heaviness is like a little much. Like it's almost, it's a bummer because like we always watch like the Christmas episode, which is great, where they go up against the ancient Yuletide gods there, and yeah, but like there's always this heaviness of like one of them is either going to hell or something like tremendously horrible, like they're like always under like demonic possession, or they have no soul, or like there's always some sort of like really heavy crap laden on it. So it's like a bummer sometimes, like how much they don't get to enjoy themselves. And occasionally you have those fun episodes where they do. There's like a little bit of levity there. But there's this, again, speaking of that Mordor, like black cloud, some of the black clouds on some of those seasons are just so black that it almost takes some of the fun moments away, because it's like, yeah, that was a good time. Yeah, but you're going to hell next week. So yeah, so instead of like any particular season, it's more specific episodes here and there. So I love, yeah, but I even love the kind of postmodern episodes where they get a little wacky. And normally I get twitchy when they do that stuff on like X-Files and things like that. But yeah, I had a blast with Supernatural. I'm still a couple seasons behind though, so I got to catch up. But yeah, any of the Bed Endlin episodes in particular are usually a good time. Love the one with the wishing well, bringing everything true, and there's the teddy bear filled with ennui and like picking up porno mags and killing himself. Yeah, it's true. The early stuff, like did go all in with we're gonna keep the spirit close to X-Files and Night Stalker, and do like one episode will be essentially like a Japanese ghost story or something like that. Yeah, so they did put that aside. And it's funny how like there's that one episode where they like far in, and they go to, I think it was like the book convention or whatever, when the supernatural books become a thing, and it's a very meta episode where they go to a supernatural convention for fandom from this book series. And there's like a ghost story going. I think it was that one that has a ghost story, and they have to go and like get rid of a ghost and burn it with salt. And I'm like, wow, this is so like just a simple ghost isn't even like remotely a concern of theirs anymore. Like they kind of bit off more than they could chew, because like once they started doing like Yuletide gods, they had to do like real gods. Like they've killed just about everything from all of mythology and everything like that. So it's gotten a little like too, like the story wise, it's gotten a little too big for its britches. But yeah, the chemistry's great. And the animated version, the anime version, was pretty cool too. They like made like redone versions of episodes, but like shorter, like about a half an hour. That was pretty cool. But yeah, there were some of those early episodes where I was like, oh damn, this is pretty ballsy. And yeah, the original like yellow-eyed demon story was good, and back when they had the comedian, aka Negan, as their dad in it a little bit more, and Bobby and all that. But I don't know. I still have to check out the last couple seasons and see what's going on. But yeah, it's funny how they were going to can it after season 5. But good times. Alright, well, since it's almost midnight, I guess I'm going to shut down. Do we still have a movie for next week? Damn it! I will post the movie. I will make a link on YouTube, and I'll throw it over on my Facebook page too. But I got to figure out what it is. I don't want to choose a crappy movie. You guys deserve a good movie. So yeah, I'll post it tomorrow. I don't know what it is. If I can remember the one that I pre-selected, I should probably just watch one of my old time streams. Walking Dead. Yeah, I spottily catch up with it, like occasionally, but not thoroughly. But I do have season 8 on Blu-ray. I think is the newest one I have on Blu-ray. But I haven't watched that all the way through. So, but yeah, occasionally I read lots of the. Let's do canon movies. Maybe we could do so. Yeah, we could do something a little more fun. I know Laserdisc Home Theater will appreciate that. And not to say that 12 Monkeys isn't fun, but maybe step away from the heavier stuff and do something a little more lighthearted. It is summer after all, so. So we'll see. But maybe not a canon movie, but something cool. I'll make the post tomorrow. All right, gentlemen and gentle ladies and gentle creatures. Hopefully you have a delightful weekend, and I will aim to do another Thursday stream next week. We'll see how there's some fun Blu-rays and stuff like that, so I can talk about them next week and actually have some pickups. So, cheers, everybody. Hope everything is not too moist and nasty where you are, but we'll catch you on the flip side. But yeah, and look out for those ass tons of top 10 videos coming your way soon. So yeah, it's gonna inundate your feed. But Plan 9, cheers, Pete, and anybody else who's still tuned in. I'll catch you guys next week. Bang.